Chapter 605. When you said those words, Hades almost choked on his chili strip. Hades felt that the netherworld woman had been led astray. This lass had always been a cold and aloof woman. How could she have learned to strip someone's clothes after hanging out with Bufong for so long? Bufong, on the other hand, sighed in admiration. He took a bite of chicken filled with spiritual essence and gave you a thumbs up. Big Sister You is so awesome. Strip him. Who asked him to act so pretentiously? Zhou looked at you in astonishment. It seemed as though he was frightened by Yu's domineering words. Were all beauties nowadays so open? Also, what was that thing hiding in the kitchen that was emitting a purple radiance? Zhou felt that this restaurant was different from other restaurants. It seemed as though there were many strange things about it. Not only were the customers weird, but the entire restaurant was weird as well. Forget it, beauty. I won't bicker with you. Call your chef over. I have an opportunity for him. Yu's face was incomparably cold. Zhou hair stood on end as he looked at her, causing him to lose all desire. She was a beauty, but she was too cold. For a moment, Zhou interest waned. He waved his hand and said to you. However, when he said those words, everyone looked at him as though he was an idiot. Won't bicker with Big Sister Nethery? Should Big Sister Nethery thank you for your magnanimity? Everyone was speechless. Did this arrogant person not know who Big Sister Nethery was? In Heavenly Mist City, who didn't know the waitress of the Cloud Mist restaurant, Big Sister Nethery? She was beautiful and strong. She was awesome to the extreme. This arrogant fellow actually said that he wouldn't bicker with Big Sister Nethery. Yu's pitch-black eyes flashed. Xiao Bai's purple eyes flashed as it slowly walked out from behind her. Its huge body gave off a huge pressure. Zhou was stunned when he saw the puppet. What is this thing? Zhou was shocked. Xiao Bai's purple eyes flashed as it looked at Zhou. It said mechanically, "Troublemaker, you will be stripped as an example to others." Stripping again? Was there something wrong with this restaurant? Why do they want to rip people's clothes off? What kind of chef could cultivate such a restaurant? Zhou frowned and said, "I'm here to give your chef an opportunity. If you miss this opportunity, how can you face your chef?" He wasn't worried at all. As the head chef of the Valley of Gluttony, he not only had cooking skills, but he also had strength. However, he still had to say his words. Opportunity? An opportunity for Old Boo? What kind of opportunity can a fool like you give Old Boo? Nangongwuk said, "You're the idiot. Your whole family is a bunch of idiots." Zhou was almost angered to death. The customers of this restaurant were all weirdos. I can teach your chef how to cook, and I can even take him to the Valley of Gluttony to cultivate. The Valley of Gluttony is a chef's paradise, a place that countless chefs dream of. Zhou glared at Nangongwuk and said, he was very confident that once he said that, the chef of the restaurant would definitely run out of the kitchen. No chef could reject the opportunity offered by the Valley of Gluttony. To be able to cultivate in the Valley of Gluttony was the glory of countless chefs. There were millions of chefs in the world, but only a few could enter the Valley of Gluttony to cultivate. If Bufong hadn't defeated Wenrinchou, the people of the Valley of Gluttony would never have given Bufong this opportunity. Zhou words made everyone hesitant. If it was really an opportunity, then they really couldn't reject it so easily. Zhou looked at the hesitant crowd, and the corners of his mouth curled up, revealing a trace of arrogance. You ignorant people. These people were so protective of the chef who had yet to show himself. Later on, when the chef accepted the opportunity, he would definitely humiliate him. He would let these ignorant people know the consequences of offending him. What are you waiting for? Quickly call your chef out. Zhou found a seat, pulled out a chair, and sat down. He leaned on the chair, and the corners of his mouth curled up. The customers in the restaurant all felt that this Zhou was really too arrogant. Hades happily stuffed the last bit of chili strip into his mouth. He glanced at Zhou. Based on his understanding of Bufong, this Zhou wouldn't have a good ending. That young man's temper wasn't good. Indeed, just as this thought appeared in his mind, a faint voice floated out from the kitchen. "Xiao Bai, strip this troublemaker and throw him out." The moment this voice floated out, It made Zhou Tong's entire person freeze on the spot. And very quickly, he felt the malicious gazes of the people around him, and the purple light in the iron puppet's eyes became even denser, as bright as the stars in the night sky. "You chef, how dare you? Don't you want the Valley of Gluttony's opportunity?" Zhou Tong furrowed his brows, and the energy on his body surged as he roared. However, there was no reply from the kitchen, as though it was too lazy to care about him. Xiaobai raised his fan-like hand, mercilessly slapping toward Zhou Tong. When it came to stripping clothes, it was still the crazy clothes-stripping demon who was most familiar with it. Zhou Tong's eyes turned cold, refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. This little chef, he didn't want the face he gave him. True energy spread out from Zhou Tong's body, and with a flick of his finger, a stream of true energy smashed toward Xiaobai's fan-like hand. The two collided together. A loud bang rang out. Zhou Tong was very confident. With his strength, this finger was enough to smash this iron puppet. After all, his cultivation was at the peak of the divine physique echelon. However, after the smoke and dust dispersed, that huge hand was still the same, grabbing toward him. This made all the hair on his body stand on end. What's going on? Why is this iron puppet so hard? Zhou Tong sucked in a breath of cold air. His palm collided with Xiaobai's, and his entire body staggered backward. A puppet in this restaurant could actually fight against him at the peak of the divine physique echelon. Zhou Tong suppressed the shock in his heart, and his eyes also became fierce. His hand flashed, and a fiery red kitchen knife appeared. On the kitchen knife, flames filled the sky, as if there was an inextinguishable flame burning, and the temperature was scorching. Zhou Tong's finger moved, and that fiery red kitchen knife spun in his hand, playing with the knife. "If you come any closer, don't blame me for being impolite. A small restaurant actually dares to be so arrogant," Zhou Tong said coldly. Xiaobai's purple eyes glanced at him, and he continued to make his move. You looked on indifferently, and her long black hair instantly fluttered. An invisible wave spread out from her body. Her figure floated up, and her sparkling feet left the ground. Her entire body seemed to be floating in the air. Zhou Tong, who was causing trouble, caused the diners in the restaurant to be slightly dumbfounded. In the next instant, everyone was watching a show, and they didn't mind the matter getting bigger. As they ate the delicious dishes, they watched with great interest how Zhou Tong was stripped. They had long been annoyed by the arrogant Zhou Tong. Hades leaned on the chair, looking at the red kitchen knife in Zhou Tong's hand, and his eyes slightly narrowed. This guy is really a chef. Zhou Tong held the kitchen knife, and he slightly exhaled. It was time to show his true skills. Let them see the power of an expert from the Valley of Gluttony. A bunch of ignorant people. The kitchen knife spun, and flames shot up to the sky. It was incomparably dazzling. In the kitchen, the faint sound of footsteps rang out, attracting everyone's attention. Everyone shifted their gazes over and saw a skinny figure walking out from within. Bu Fong was expressionless, calmly looking at Zhou Tong, who was playing with a knife in the restaurant. Looking at the kitchen knife in Zhou Tong's hand, his left eyebrow slightly twitched. In the next instant, green smoke curled around his hand, and an unassuming black kitchen knife appeared in his hand. Looking at that unassuming black kitchen knife, Zhou Tong wanted to laugh. However, just as he was about to laugh, in the next instant, the kitchen knife became resplendent, dazzling, and eye-catching. It was as if a dragon's roar resounded, and Zhou Tong felt the spirituality within his roaring flame knife tremble. The flames circulating on the roaring flame kitchen knife dimmed a little, as if there were signs of it being extinguished. What the hell? What kind of kitchen knife was that chef holding in his hand? Zhou Tong's heart shrank, and he was incomparably shocked. His eyes revealed even more astonishment. Bu Fong carried the dragon bone kitchen knife, calmly looking at Zhou Tong. Don't waste time. Strip him and throw him out. Don't affect the restaurant's business. Bu Fong said. Xiao Bai's eyes flashed, and his figure suddenly accelerated, appearing beside Zhou Tong with an oppressive aura. Yu's toes touched the ground, and as if she had teleported, she appeared in front of Zhou Tong. The corners of Hades's mouth curled up, and he pointed at Zhou Tong with interest. A pitch-black ribbon then twirled out. Zhou Tong felt as if he had been abandoned by the entire world. That puppet, that outrageously beautiful woman, brought him pressure, causing his body and mind to tremble. Why didn't he realize that these two fellows were so terrifying? He turned around, wanting to leave. However, he shockingly discovered that his body seemed to be bound by some kind of shackles, and he was unable to move at all. How could this be? Zhou Tong's eyes widened, and his heart shrank. He raised his head. In the distance, that incomparably handsome man raised a finger to his lips, smiling at him with an evil charm. In the next instant, under his terrified gaze, Yu raised her fair and slender palm, stretching out a finger, and lightly gestured at Zhou Tong. The spectators in the restaurant widened their eyes, and an uproar broke out. A ripping sound rang out. The chef robe on Zhou Tong's body directly tore apart. Xiao Bai stood at the side, rubbing his round head. His mechanical eyes flickered incessantly. His job of stripping clothes seemed to have been snatched by someone. Zhou Tong straightened his neck, widened his eyes, and his mouth trembled. He felt a chill run down his entire body, and his lower body was even more chilly. It blew on his heart, making him feel extremely cold. Covering his lower body, Zhou Tong's face was filled with grief and indignation. He, the dissolute chef Zhou Tong, felt grief and indignation for being stripped by a woman for the first time. Yu's eyes slightly lit up, and she pouted, as if her mood was somewhat joyful because of the stripping. In the distance, Hades and Bu Fang's hearts thumped. Nangong Wuk's whole body was even colder. Zhou Tong, who had been stripped naked, was still unable to move. This made him extremely depressed, and the surrounding sharp gazes caused goosebumps to rise all over his body. Suddenly, Xiao Bai took a step forward, and his fan-like hand grabbed Zhou Tong's head. In the next instant, amidst Zhou Tong's hoarse scream, he suddenly flung his head, causing Zhou Tong's body to streak through the air in a 360-degree arc. The spectators looked at the naked Zhou Tong streaking through the sky, and the only thought they had was that bastard's butt was really white. Bang! Zhou Tong smashed onto the ground. He was finally able to move, and the restraint on his body disappeared. He frantically crawled up from the ground, covering his lower body with one hand and his white, but with the other. Both his legs were pressed inwards, and even his lips were trembling. When the diners queuing outside saw Zhou Tong being stripped naked and thrown out, they all burst into laughter. Thinking of Zhou Tong's arrogance toward them and his current sorry state, the diners only felt a wave of comfort in their hearts. Who asked you to act pretentious? You've been stripped for acting pretentious. Chapter 606. The mocking laughter of the surrounding people made Zhou Tong's face burn. He had never thought that one day he would be mocked by this group of ignorant people. It was simply unbelievable. As a genius chef of the Valley of Gluttony, the people he talked to were all holy sons and daughters of great powers. Their statuses were high, and it was not something these lowly people could compare to. Even so, he was neither servile nor overbearing in front of these holy sons and daughters. All of you shut up. Zhou Tong covered his lower body. His eyes seemed to turn red as he roared at the surrounding people. That look was like a mad lion. Of course, if it was not for his naked body, the crowd might really be intimidated. But that ferocious expression coupled with his naked body was comical no matter how they looked at it. Zhou Tong turned his head and stared fiercely at the restaurant. He stared at the skinny chef in the restaurant. You actually dare to treat me like this? Don't you want the Valley of Gluttony's opportunity? That's the opportunity that many chefs dream of. Zhou Tong gritted his teeth and shouted. Following Zhou Tong's shout, the laughter of the surrounding people gradually became softer and finally disappeared. The diners all looked at Bu Fang. According to Zhou Tong, this Valley of Gluttony seemed to be very powerful. If Owner Bu offended this guy and lost this opportunity, it would not be worth it. Zhou Tong seemed to feel that he had grasped the initiative. The opportunity of the Valley of Gluttony. He really did not believe that anyone could reject it. Bufong's figure slowly moved with a dragon bone kitchen knife on his shoulder. He walked out of the restaurant and stood at the entrance of the store. His gaze was indifferent as he looked at the naked Zhou Tong. If you want the Valley of Gluttony's opportunity, you need me to guide you. Be obedient and apologize to me, and I might give you another chance. Are you done? If you're done, then scram. Bufong really could not be bothered to talk too much with this guy. He had some doubts in his heart. Were the chefs of the Valley of Gluttony all so brainless? Every one of them had high expectations, but low ability. First it was Wen Rinchou, and now there was Zhou Tong. That Wen Rinchou was still all right. He kept on saying that he wanted to crush him in the Tao of cooking and even started a chef's challenge with him. That was not all. But this Zhou Tong, Bufong felt that this child must have been an angel with broken wings in his previous life. Otherwise, why would his intelligence be so low? Saying that it was the Valley of Gluttony's good fortune. Yet, he still acted as if he was giving out charity. Even after being stripped naked, he still held his head high. Who gave him the courage to act so pretentiously? After saying these words indifferently, Bufong was too lazy to bother with Zhou Tong, whose face had almost turned the color of pig liver. The dragon bone kitchen knife in his hand turned into a wisp of green smoke and dissipated. With a wave of his vermilion robe, the red feather gently fluttered as he turned around and returned to the kitchen. He only left behind a silhouette for Zhou Tong. Zhou Tong's eyes were filled with disbelief. This fellow actually rejected the opportunity that the Valley of Gluttony offered him. Was he crazy? Zhou Tong felt that he must have met a fake chef. As the laughter resounded in his ears once again, Zhou Tong finally could not stand it anymore. He looked at the restaurant with hatred and said, "Damn it, you will regret this sooner or later. When that time comes, don't cry and beg to enter the Valley of Gluttony." After leaving behind these harsh words, Zhou Tong gloomily left. Only his white back was left for the crowd to see. This was just a small interlude. After being turned into a joke, it was soon forgotten by the crowd. The Cloud Mist restaurant continued its bustling business. Heavenly Shine City. A loud explosion resounded. The city walls were instantly breached, and the protective array of the city walls was also destroyed in the explosion. A huge hole was blasted in the towering and majestic city walls. Smoke and dust billowed, and gravel flew everywhere. Within Heavenly Shine City, figures soared into the sky. Everyone's face was solemn and somber. These people were the alchemists of Heavenly Shine City. At this moment, every one of them actually dashed out to kill in order to protect their home. Grandmaster Yao Guang was wearing an alchemist's robe. True energy surged from his entire body. He was the first to charge out. Accompanied by an angry roar, he charged toward the Shura army in the distance. His eyes were filled with determination. Within the Shura army, there were also experts who soared into the sky and fought with Grandmaster Yao Guang. The battle broke out in an instant. Even though the alchemists of Heavenly Shine City resisted with all their might, it was still difficult for them to stop the Shura army. There were countless casualties. Within the tent, a majestic wave of pressure spread out, and a palm that covered the sky instantly condensed in the sky. The sky-covering palm was filled with dense, true energy, and the patterns on it were extremely obvious. With a loud roar, the sky-covering palm slammed down. Grandmaster Yao Guang coughed out blood to resist. However, under the palm, he was unable to resist at all. Under this palm, he was reduced to ashes. Before he died, Grandmaster Yao Guang's eyes were fixed on the tent. His eyes were filled with unwillingness and resentment. Shura's sovereign, you will die a horrible death. Grandmaster Yao Guang only had time to shout out his last words before he was completely smashed into meat paste. He died. An alchemy grandmaster of the Pill Palace died, just like that. The sky-covering palm did not lose its momentum. It ruthlessly smashed into the city walls, causing the towering city walls to shake violently. Rubble scattered everywhere as the city walls collapsed. Countless citizens of Heavenly Shine City died a violent death. From within the tent, a handsome figure walked out. The Shura sovereign was dressed in casual clothes. As he looked at the crumbling, heavenly shine city, the corners of his mouth curled up. My ancient Shura city has been quiet for too long. Many forces seem to have forgotten how terrifying my ancient Shura city was in the past. The Shura sovereign clasped his hands behind his back, and his eyes were indifferent. Beside him, the experts of the hidden dragon royal court stood quietly. The saintess stood respectfully at the side. In the distant sky, a long roar resounded. A ray of light tore through the sky, speeding over. That was the arrival of the peak experts of the Pill Palace. It was the fourth elder of the Pill Palace, an existence on the same level as the Pill Palace Master. The destruction of Heavenly Shine City had caused the fourth elder of the Pill Palace to be enraged. He was determined to kill the Shura sovereign. Just an ant. To the Shura sovereign, an expert who had just stepped into the Divine Soul realm was not worth worrying about. He had already destroyed a city of the Pill Palace. Killing another Divine Soul realm expert of the Pill Palace was not a big deal. The corners of the Shura sovereign's mouth curled up. A blood-colored light flashed in his hand, and a set of blood-colored battle armor appeared. A scarlet cloak, which looked like blood, fluttered in the wind. He put on a helmet and donned the battle armor. The Shura sovereign's aura suddenly changed. His murderous aura soared to the sky. A long sword came out of its sheath. The sword had a spirit, and the cry of the sword resounded through the sky. Taking a step forward, the Shura sovereign charged toward the Pill Palace's elder. The battle between the Divine Soul realm experts attracted the attention of many people. Every member of the Shura army had a crazed look on their faces. They looked at the blood-colored figure in the sky with incomparable worship. After a while, the battle in the sky finally ended. The Shura sovereign held his sword with one hand, looking extremely heroic as he descended from the sky. It was as if he was walking on a flight of stairs. Dark red blood dripped from the Shura sword. The handsome face hidden under the helmet of the Shura tower lifted up. His eyes were deep and indifferent. Next stop, Heavenly Pill City. Pill Palace, Star Tower, a towering tower that seemed to have starlight circulating on its surface, stood leisurely. Heavenly Pill City was the #1 city of the Pill Palace. It was the center of the entire Pill Palace. The Star Tower was located in Heavenly Pill City. It was the Pill Tower of Heavenly Pill City. It was the place where countless geniuses of the Pill Palace gathered. It was rumored that the Palace Master of the Pill Palace was at the top of the Star Tower. The elders of the Pill Palace were also cultivating and practicing alchemy in the Star Tower. At the top of the Star Tower, in a rather narrow space, a figure who was sitting cross-legged slowly opened his eyes. It was like a streak of sword light that suddenly tore through the night sky. It was incomparably resplendent and dazzling. It was a handsome man wearing a loose robe. When that loose robe spread out, it seemed to cover the entire ground. The man's eyelashes were rather long. When he slightly trembled, there seemed to be ripples in his eyes. "The fourth elder is dead," the man muttered sorrowfully. In the next instant, he stood up and dragged his loose robe to the window of the Star Tower. He looked at the flourishing Heavenly Pill City. After a long time, he let out a long sigh. The hidden Dragon Royal Court actually allowed the ancient Shura city to act so presumptuously. Could it be that the Royal Court is finally free to deal with the Pill Palace? This person was none other than the Palace Master of the Pill Palace, Luo Danqing. With a powerful cultivation, he was the backbone of all the alchemists in the Pill Palace. After looking at the prosperity of Heavenly Pill City for a while, he looked at the sky in the distance. There, a majestic mass of blood clouds slowly shrouded over, as though it was a ferocious beast that was about to devour people. The sky is about to change. Heavenly Shine City had fallen. This news instantly spread throughout the entire Pill Palace. The ancient Shura city had been attacked by the army of the ancient Shura city. Grandmaster Yao Wang and the fourth elder of the Pill Palace had fallen. Countless alchemists in Heavenly Shine City had turned into dust. Everyone in the Pill Palace was on tenterhooks. This news didn't only spread to Heavenly Pill City and Heavenly Mist City. Many experts from other forces had also received the news. After the Grand Baron sect got wind of this news, they immediately ordered to cut off all ties with the Pill Palace. The Wind and Thunder Pavilion did the same. They recalled all the genius disciples they had sent to the Pill Palace and terminated all cooperation with them. It was as though the Pill Palace had become a dreadful beast overnight. It wasn't just the big forces. Even the small forces did the same. For a moment, the Pill Palace was isolated and without help. Everyone remained silent and tacitly understood what was going on. Logically speaking, the Pill Palace was the holy land of alchemists. It controlled the entire continent's alchemy lifeline. When faced with a crisis of survival, the other forces should be eager to help and make the Pill Palace owe them a favor. However, this time, all the forces chose to isolate the Pill Palace. It wasn't because of anything else, but because the Hidden Dragon Royal Court seemed to be involved in the ancient Shura City's crusade against the Pill Palace. No one was afraid of the ancient Shura City. However, once the Hidden Dragon Royal Court got involved, everyone couldn't help but be concerned. As the strongest force in the continent, the other forces didn't even have the qualifications to go against the Hidden Dragon Royal Court. This wasn't the first time something like this had happened. Many years ago, there was a great reshuffle of the continent's forces. The other forces' indifference made the people of the Pill Palace feel despair. As time passed, the Shura army started to attack the Heavenly Pill City. It was also on that day that the Shura army released a message. The Shura sovereign's devilish and handsome face appeared on the projection array of the Heavenly Mist City and the Heavenly Pill City. The corners of his mouth curled up, and he said calmly, "You killed my people and stole my Shura tower. Next, you'll have to pay with your blood. After the Heavenly Pill City, it will be the Heavenly Mist City. When that time comes, prepare to die, little chef." When the crowd heard this, an uproar broke out. The little chef of the Heavenly Mist City? Could it be that dark horse chef, Bufong, in the Cloud Mist restaurant? After Bufong heard the news, the corners of his mouth curled up, and he said calmly, "Is this Shura's sovereign an idiot?" Chapter 607. The Shura sovereign calling out to the Dark Horse chef was completely out of everyone's expectations. Not only did it stun the people of the Pill Palace, but it also stunned many of the factions outside of the Pill Palace. None of them expected the Shura sovereign to attack the Pill Palace just to take revenge on the Dark Horse chef. Originally, they were worried that the Shura sovereign would lead his Shura army to attack the factions they belonged to, causing them to panic. No one expected the Shura sovereign to attack the Pill Palace just for a single reason. The people of the Pill Palace were even more sullen and angry. What did the Shura sovereign think the Pill Palace was? A soft persimmon that he could squash at will? In the Pill Palace, there were some people who couldn't help but ponder. They also had a bad impression of the Dark Horse chef. Because of the existence of this Dark Horse chef, the Shura sovereign had attacked the Pill Palace, causing the fall of Heavenly Shine City and the death of countless experts. Facing the seemingly invincible Shura sovereign, they shifted their resentment to the seemingly easy-to-bully Dark Horse chef. Bufong could clearly feel that the number of customers in the Cloud Mist restaurant had decreased. Sometimes, there were only a few customers. Other than a few acquaintances, he didn't see any other customers. It was obvious that these customers were affected by the Shura sovereign's words. Some of them were afraid of the Shura sovereign, so they distanced themselves from the restaurant. They didn't want to get involved. These people are too cowardly. If the Shura sovereign wants to cause trouble, what does it have to do with the restaurant? It's obvious that the Shura sovereign is just looking for an excuse to attack the Pill Palace. Old Boo just happened to bump into that guy's blade, Nangongwak said indignantly as he bit into a chili strip. Nangongwan sat elegantly on her seat and drank a mouthful of sour plum soup. Her face was flushed red. Hades raised his head and opened his mouth. A chili strip was moving in and out of his mouth as he sucked it continuously. His face was filled with happiness. This guy seemed to be satisfied with only chili strips. Nethery pouted as she sat at the side, happily eating the dragon blood rice and the frosty sour plum soup. She seemed to be very happy. Although the number of diners in the restaurant had decreased, everyone's state of eating became more joyous and harmonious. Little Huss, do you think those guys who transfer their resentment to Bu Fong are stupid? Nangong Wuk was very angry in his heart. He bit a piece of chicken and complained to Hades, who was enjoying sucking on the chili strip. Hades opened his mouth, and his nimble tongue curled up and rolled the chili strip into his mouth. The spiciness spread in his mouth, and the taste of the abyssal chili sauce burst forth like flames, causing Hades's nostrils to fill with hot air. Ha! Hades lightly exhaled and swallowed the last bit of the chili strip. He then opened his eyes and lazily glanced at Nangong Wuk. What's there to be angry about? That's just human nature. Besides, if they don't come to the young man's restaurant, they'll be the ones losing out. The spicy strips are so delicious, Hades said. Nangong Wuk was surprised. What Hades said made sense. Bu Fong walked out of the kitchen. He was wearing a red and white vermilion robe, which made him look very spirited. Bu Fong's hands were full of water. He shook them off and wiped them clean. Then he walked into the restaurant, pulled a chair, and sat down. He sat in front of the restaurant, curled up on the chair, and closed his eyes lazily. He lightly exhaled, feeling very comfortable. It was raining outside, but it didn't affect Bu Fong's good mood. It had been a long time since he had curled up on a chair so comfortably. Bu Fong thought to himself. Just when Bu Fong was about to fall asleep, a series of clear footsteps rang out. A huge shadow appeared in front of Bu Fong, and Bu Fong couldn't help but open his eyes. "It's you." When Bu Fong saw the figure in front of him, he was slightly surprised. The person in front of him was none other than Yang Meiji, who had sold the Cloud Mist restaurant to him. Bu Fong had a good impression of Yang Meiji. She was a man with determination. No, a woman with determination. Owner Bu, why are you still in the mood to relax? Don't you know how serious the situation is? Yang Meiji looked at the lazy Bu Fong, and she couldn't help but get angry. She had just come out of the pill tower, and she had received this unexpected news. The Shura sovereign had attacked the pill palace because of the little chef in the Cloud Mist restaurant. Wasn't that little chef Bu Fong? Because of the Shura sovereign's words, the people in the pill tower were divided into two groups. One group thought that the Shura sovereign was just looking for an excuse, and the other group thought that the Shura sovereign had attacked the pill tower because of the little chef. They just needed to hand the little chef over to the Shura sovereign, and it would be enough to appease the Shura sovereign's anger. Anyway, in the pill palace, there was no need for a restaurant to exist to ensure the continuity of the pill palace. So what if they had to sacrifice a restaurant? With the Shura sovereign's strong attack, Heavenly Pill City was in danger, and the people in Heavenly Mist City were more and more inclined to the second group. Currently, the Cloud Mist restaurant had become the target of everyone in Heavenly Mist City. When Yang Meiji got the news, she was really dumbfounded. That was why she rushed back to inform Bu Fong, asking him to leave Heavenly Mist City and lay low for a while. However, Bu Fong's calm appearance made Yang Meiji feel that she was worried about a dog. This fellow wasn't afraid at all. What's there to be afraid of? I'm running my restaurant. If anyone dares to cause trouble, I will strip them and throw them out, said Bu Fong calmly as he curled up on his chair. His domineering words made Yang Meiji speechless for a moment. She opened her mouth, but she couldn't find any words to persuade him. She was so anxious that she was sweating profusely. I don't care about you. However, I will stay in the Cloud Mist restaurant for a period of time. After all, this restaurant belongs to my father. I can't watch it get destroyed, said Yang Meiji angrily as she clenched her fists. Oh, I will reserve your room for you. It's on the second floor, said Bu Fong. Yang Meiji looked at Bu Fong's attitude, stomped her feet, and walked into the restaurant. However, the moment he entered the restaurant, he saw Nangong Wuk, who was sitting not far away from him, happily eating the Buddha jumps over the wall soup. His originally angry face immediately turned into one of embarrassment. She blushed and said bashfully, "Young Master Nangong, why are you here? Oh, old Yang, long time no see. Thank you for returning my heaven and earth obsidian flame. I haven't found a chance to thank you. What do you want to eat? It's my treat. Just order whatever you want. Nangong Wuk looked at Yang Meiji and said with a smile, No, no need. That heaven and earth obsidian flame belongs to you. It's normal for me to return it to you. I have something to do. Yang Meiji's face flushed red, and her face was filled with bashfulness. She said a few words to Nangong Wuk before covering her face and running away. Nangong Wuk held a piece of chicken in his mouth, his face dumbfounded. Hades held another chili strip in his mouth. When he saw Nangong Wuk's appearance, he laughed loudly. He was a smart man, so he had already seen through everything. Yang Meiji didn't expect that Nangong Wuk would actually be in the store. She quickly ran to the staircase on the second floor and leaned against the wall. She covered her chest with her hands and felt her tiny heart beating rapidly. She let out a long breath. When she thought about how Nangong Wuk had treated her to a meal, her face turned red again. Her heart was filled with happiness. She sneakily stuck her head out from behind the wall and peeked at Nangong Wuk, who was eating in the restaurant. When Nangong Wuk was about to look in her direction, she quickly retracted her head. She bashfully patted her cheeks and returned to the second floor. Bufong was touched that Yang Meiji had come back to inform him. However, Bufong wasn't worried about her words. Just as he had said, if anyone dared to cause trouble, he would ask you to strip them naked. Then, he would ask Xiao Bai to throw them out. Bufong just wanted to open his restaurant in peace. If they came to eat, everyone would be happy and get what they wanted. If they came to cause trouble, Bufong wouldn't be polite. Restaurant owners hated troublemakers the most. The weather in Heavenly Mist City wasn't good these days. Thick layers of clouds floated in the gloomy sky. Rainwater rolled in the clouds, and when it couldn't hold back, it poured down. On the streets of Heavenly Mist City, many people were holding umbrellas. The rainwater splashed on the umbrellas. The rainwater on the ground surged, and when people stepped on it, they would step on it and crush it. Bufong curled up on his chair. The faint water vapor blew on his face, cooling him down. It also had the fragrance of the earth, which made him sleep better. All of a sudden, the sound of messy footsteps breaking through the rainwater arose. Bufong slightly raised his eyelids and opened his eyes to look outside. He saw a large group of people surging over from afar. In just a short while, they had completely surrounded the entrance of the restaurant. In the restaurant, the crowd was also attracted by this grand scene. One by one, they walked to the entrance and ate their food while staring at the group of people. There were so many people that Nangong Wuk couldn't even count them. Among these people, there were alchemists and natives of Heavenly Mist City. They were holding umbrellas to protect themselves from the rain. Their eyes were filled with hatred as they stared at Bufong. The person leading them was someone everyone was familiar with. Xiong Shi grinned and led the crowd to stare at the restaurant. His face was filled with hatred. Xiong Shi was an alchemist of Heavenly Shine City. However, before he could return to Heavenly Shine City, the Shura army had already taken over the city. He had no home to return to. At this time, the Shura sovereign's words gave him a target to vent his anger on. It turned out that it was all the fault of that dark horse chef. It was the fault of the chef who defeated him. Since there were many people in Heavenly Mist City who were in a state of resentment, Xiong Shi organized everyone to come here together. Their goal was to capture Bufong and deliver him to the Shura sovereign. This would appease the Shura sovereign's anger and force the Shura army to retreat. The crowd was enraged, and the atmosphere in the restaurant became stagnant. Bufong, who was curled up on his chair, slowly opened his eyes. He calmly glanced at the crowd and stood up from his chair. He stretched his body and calmly looked at the crowd. If you want to eat, I'll welcome you. If you want to cause trouble, I'll strip you naked and throw you out. If a group of them comes, I'll strip them all. Buzz in the kitchen, Xiao Bai's purple eyes flickered. He stuck half of his head out, and his eyes shone brightly. Chapter 608. Heavenly Pill City, Star Tower. A figure slowly walked out of the Star Tower. That heavy stone door was accompanied by a long, creaking sound. It was as though dust was flying in the air as it slowly opened. The palace master of the Pill Palace, Luo Danqing, wore an emotionless face as he walked out of the stone door. A group of experts from the Heavenly Pill City had been waiting for him. They all looked at Luo Danqing with respect, their faces filled with fanaticism. The Pill Palace's palace master, Luo Danqing, was the hope of all the alchemists. In this situation where the Shura army was approaching the city and the Shura sovereign was invincible, only Luo Danqing was their hope. Grandmaster Guhi's face was filled with respect. Sorceress and Sheng followed behind him and curiously looked at the palace master, Luo Danqing. Luo Danqing wasn't considered handsome, but he gave people a very comfortable feeling. It was as though a gust of wind had brushed past them, making them feel as though they were bathing in the spring breeze. That gentle smile on his face could make the tension in one's heart relax a lot. Of course, other than the experts from Heavenly Pill City, the genius alchemists in the Star Tower were also standing respectfully. The alchemists in the Star Tower were all top-notch alchemists. They were the top 10 in every magical hand conference. They cultivated in the Star Tower and comprehended the great Tao of alchemy. They were all disciples of the palace master, Luo Danqing. Luo Danqing had nurtured them a lot, so they were very respectful. The ancient Shura city attacked our Pill Palace. Do they really think that our Pill Palace is easy to bully? I heard that they even found an excuse. It's because a little chef from the Pill Palace killed their people and stole their Shura Tower. They want to take revenge and let the entire Pill Palace know that they are guilty of covering up. What a joke. Luo Danqing slowly walked forward, his long robe dragging on the ground. As he walked, he spoke. His voice was gentle and powerful, reverberating throughout the entire Pill Tower. The Pill Tower of Heavenly Pill City was the largest pill tower in the entire Pill Palace. It was so tall that it reached the clouds. There were countless experts and powerful alchemists gathered there. Luo Danqing's eyes scanned through many alchemists. How many years has it been? The Shura sovereign is still as overbearing and insolent as ever. If he wants to bully my Pill Palace, then so be it. Yet, he still has to find such a baseless excuse. It's not easy for that little chef, so why is he making things difficult for us? He is looking down on my Pill Palace. Since he wants to fight, then our Pill Palace should not be afraid. Although we are all alchemists, we must let the entire continent know that alchemists do not only know how to refine pills. If they provoke us, we will still destroy them. Luo Danqing's words seemed to have some kind of magical power, causing the blood of many experts to boil. Everyone's eyes turned red, their fighting was surging. Fight! Alchemists are not to be bullied. Sorceress and Sheng clenched her fists in excitement. Looking at the domineering palace master, her beautiful face turned red. The Manor Lord was domineering. Don't be afraid, just do it. Heavenly Mist City, Cloud Mist Restaurant at this moment. The Cloud Mist Restaurant was surrounded by the people of Heavenly Mist City. Their eyes were filled with resentment. They had transferred all the pressure from the Shura sovereign to the restaurant. They wanted to destroy the restaurant and chase it out of Heavenly Mist City. As the leader of these people, Xiongshi was the most excited. He finally had the chance to avenge his big bear. Bufang, you killed the people of the ancient Shura city and stole their divine tool. The destruction of Heavenly Shine City is directly related to you. You caused our Pill Palace to suffer the oppression of the Shura army. You have an undeniable responsibility. Xiongshi glared at Bufang and roared. However, Bufang did not care about them at all. He was still as lazy as before. He even said words that caused everyone to be filled with anger. Xiao Bai's figure flashed and appeared beside Bufang. He stood in front of Bufang like a small mountain, giving everyone a majestic pressure. Troublemakers, you will be stripped as an example to others. Xiao Bai's mechanical voice reverberated. Even though it was raining cats and dogs, it could not block the coldness in his voice. Everyone felt a chill run down their spines. In the next moment, they were filled with righteous indignation and started protesting. How savage! You caused our Heavenly Shine City to fall, and you still have the face to stay in the Pill Palace. Get out of the Pill Palace. Get out of heavenly mist city. You sinner. You should apologize to the people of the Pill Palace. The Shura sovereign is looking for you. The crowd was enraged. They held onto their umbrellas and waved their fists as they stared at Bufong. In an instant, everyone's anger gathered. If it was someone else, they would have been scared out of their wits. It was a pity that they met Bufong, who was always calm. Even in such a situation, he was still expressionless. He just looked at this group of people as if he was looking at an idiot. What did the Shura sovereign attacking the Pill Palace have to do with him? Since the Shura sovereign wanted to find trouble with him, why didn't he come to Heavenly Mist City to find trouble with him? The Cloud Mist restaurant was located in Heavenly Mist City. It was not afraid of the wind and rain, and it would not run away. However, the Shura sovereign chose to attack the Pill Palace. Even a fool would know that there must be a reason. The Shura sovereign said that it was to take revenge on a little chef. The dignified Shura sovereign attacked a first-rate force in the continent just to take revenge on a little chef? If that was the case, Bufong would really be proud. Hence, Bufong did not have any good feelings towards this group of people who seemed to be blinded by lard. In his previous life, Bufong had seen many of these kinds of people. They were the kind of people who, when provoked, would follow the crowd and ask others to get lost. They were the kind of people who went with the flow. Bufong did not have a good impression of them. You are the sinner of the Pill Palace. How dare you be so arrogant? Xiongshi glared and said fiercely. The crowd parted, and a few figures slowly walked out. These are the experts from Heavenly Pill City's Star Tower. They are here today to put this little chef on trial to appease the Shura sovereign's anger. Whoever dares to stop them will be going against the Star Tower. Going against the Star Tower is the same as going against the entire Pill Palace. There will be no place for you in the Pill Palace. Xiongshi said. His words were directed at Nangong Wuk and the others. The few alchemists from the Star Tower had cold eyes, and the aura on their bodies was very strong. They looked at Bufong, who was standing at the entrance, with indifferent eyes. Come with us. It doesn't matter if the Shura sovereign's target is you or not. At least he said it. You must have played a part in it. You killed the people of the ancient Shura city and stole their divine tool. You are the one to blame. You shouldn't let the entire Pill Palace take the blame for you. The expert from the Star Tower said. After he finished speaking, his eyes were still bright, and his aura soared to the sky. He wanted to suppress Bufong. This was an expert who had broken through 5 Supreme Being shackles. His cultivation was very strong. In reality, the experts from the Star Tower were all very strong. They were the true backbone of the Pill Palace. Nangong Wuk and Nangong Wan walked to Bufong's side. They were a little speechless towards this group of people. Anger appeared on their faces, and they felt that this group of people was too unreasonable. This group of people just wanted to push all the blame onto Bufong. Bufong was wearing the vermilion robe. The red and white vermilion robe fluttered in the wind. His expression was indifferent as he looked at the group of people with his hands behind his back. The rain outside was getting heavier, and their vision seemed to become a little hazy. The rain was like a curtain of pearls that blocked everything. I can't be bothered to talk too much with you. This is my restaurant. If you come to eat, I welcome you. If you come to cause trouble, I'll strip you and throw you out. This is too much, Bufong said. He stretched out his hand and patted Xiao Bai's chubby pout. Xiao Bai's eyes instantly turned ash gray, and his aura surged. Then, I'll kill you. Buzz impudent. The expert from the Star Tower was enraged. His eyes widened in anger. We know that there are many powerful existences guarding your restaurant. That's why we are so unbridled. However, don't forget that this is the Pill City. This is the territory of the Pill Palace. So what? Bufong said indifferently. Hades leaned against the door. He held a chili strip and smacked it. His eyes revealed a strong interest. This group of people actually dared to threaten Bufong? Could it be that this group of people didn't know how terrifying the fat dog in the restaurant was? Or could it be that this group of people really had some powerful backing? He had to see for himself. However, after Hades waited for a long time, The group of people still didn't do anything. They just straightened their necks and stared at Bufong with righteous indignation. They didn't do anything. What was going on? They were actually causing trouble. Hades almost choked on the chili strip. Were these people here to make a joke? The group of people from the Star Tower weren't fools. In this small restaurant, there was someone who could defeat the Shura Sovereign's clone. If they really wanted to go up, they might not even be able to withstand a slap from that person. However, this was the Pill City, their home ground. They had 100 ways to make the restaurant close down. Since you don't want to scram out of the heavenly mist city, don't even think about continuing your business. We're going to seal your restaurant. We won't let anyone enter your restaurant, the expert from the Star Tower said with a cold smile. As soon as he finished speaking, the few experts from the Star Tower started to form hand seals. Mysterious ripples spread out, and a few dense elixir energy soared into the sky, enveloping the entire restaurant. This was an isolation array. It was like a cage binding the restaurant. Bufong furrowed his brows, and a trace of anger appeared on his face. Cutting off one source of wealth and hindering one's cultivation. The actions of this group of people had angered Bufong. If he couldn't continue his business, Bufong's cultivation wouldn't increase. This was something Bufong wouldn't allow. This restaurant of yours, just wait for it to close down. Sooner or later, it will scram out of the heavenly mist city. The expert from the Star Tower said, I hope this can appease the Shura Sovereign's anger. Bufong stood at the entrance and looked at the group of people expressionlessly. A group of retards. Anger appeared on the faces of Nangong Wuk and the others. Despicable. Old Boo is the champion of the Magical Hand Conference. How can you treat him like this? Nangong Wuk clenched his teeth and said, Champion? This year's Magical Hand Conference is a disgrace. A chef actually became the champion, and you still dare to make a fuss, one of the experts from the Star Tower said in disdain. Hades stuffed the entire chili strip into his mouth and licked his finger, which was stained with the juice of the chili strip. He turned his head to look at Bufong. These people are really too noisy. Young man, do you need how to make a move? I only need 3 chili strips. On Hades' handsome face, his eyebrows twitched as he said. Bufong glanced at the Nether King. After a long moment of silence, he slowly opened his mouth. Old Ha, deal. Just strip them naked. Be gentle. Hades was stunned and his mouth twitched. Just call me I Little Ha. Why call me Old Ha? I'm still young. Also, the youngsters these days are too naughty. If they don't agree, they will strip. This is really exciting. Chapter 609. Little Ha was going to make a move. Nangong Wuk was stunned. He looked at Hades in astonishment. This was the first time he knew that Little Ha had such an ability. Could it be that Little Ha was also a hidden expert? Could it be that this man who often called himself Hades was really a powerful existence? Nangong Wuk suddenly became excited as he stared at Little Ha. Hades was a little scared by his stare. He didn't understand what was wrong with Nangong Wuk. However, since he had already obtained Bufong's promise, Hades was also prepared to make a move. To be able to eat delicious chili strips, wasn't it just stripping these noisy fellows naked? It was not a loss at all. Hence, in front of everyone's curious gazes, Hades shook his elegant hair and slowly walked out to face the group of people from Heavenly Mist City. The Star Tower experts frowned as they looked at Hades. They didn't recognize Hades and didn't know who Hades was. From the information they received, they only knew that this restaurant had a puppet, a netherworld woman, and a fat dog that could defeat the Shura Sovereign's clone. However, the information they received didn't mention that there was such a flirtatious clown in the restaurant. 3 chili strips in exchange for him stripping all of them naked? Where did this clown come from? How could he be so confident? Who are you? I hope you don't make a mistake. This chef is a sinner of the Pill Palace. You won't have a good ending if you hang out with him, the Star Tower expert said. TSK, TSK, TSK. Youngsters nowadays are so mischievous. The Nether King stretched out a finger and pointed at the people from the Star Tower as he smacked his lips. Mischievous your sister. The faces of the Star Tower experts darkened. They were warning this fellow, but this fellow actually dared to tease them. Was there a hole in the brains of the people who hung out with this restaurant? The experts from the Star Tower were speechless. Xiongshi widened his eyes and stared at Hades. He grinned and said, "Since you have chosen to make a mistake, then scram into the restaurant. Don't even think about taking half a step out." They wanted to completely seal this restaurant. Hades narrowed his eyes and looked at Xiongshi. This fellow actually dared to tell him to scram. Naughty. Hades's mouth twitched. Everyone was speechless. You're the naughty one. Your whole family is naughty. The true energy in Xiongshi's body surged as he reached out with both hands to grab Hades. He wanted to grab this fellow who had no aura whatsoever and throw him into the restaurant. However, before Xiongshi could make a move, he was stunned, because he noticed that the aura of the outrageously handsome guy in front of him had suddenly changed. The air around him seemed to solidify, causing him to be unable to move. Xiongshi was dumbfounded. What just happened? Hades calmly placed his hands behind his back. There was no joy or sorrow in his eyes as he glanced at Xiongshi. He extended a finger and tapped the space between Xiongshi's eyebrows. Bang! Xiongshi was sent flying, and his clothes were torn to shreds. His whole body turned into a ball of fat, rolling on the ground. The first one, Hades said. Uproar. The crowd burst into an uproar. The other party actually dared to make a move. The experts from the Star Tower glared angrily. Impudent. One of the experts emitted an aura. Even though they were afraid of the dog in the restaurant, it didn't mean that they would allow anyone to bully them. After all, they were from the Pill Palace, and this was the Pill Palace. Bang! A tyrannical, true energy surged, as though it was going to sweep up the dust on the ground. The moment this expert made his move, his aura was vast and mighty. The 5 true energy shackles behind him swayed continuously. Hades seemed to become extremely small, and he was on the verge of collapsing under the raging true energy. However, Hades's gaze was calm and indifferent. There wasn't the slightest bit of worry in his eyes as he looked at the expert from the Star Tower. His face was as calm as an ancient well, devoid of joy or sorrow. Young, Hades said calmly. His voice was like a morning bell, smashing into the ears of the expert from the Star Tower like a huge hammer. That expert's eyes suddenly became sluggish. His face stiffened, and the true energy in his body suddenly dispersed. Hades clasped his hands behind his back. He raised a finger and tapped the space between the eyebrows of the expert from the Star Tower. That expert's face instantly turned deathly pale, and he flew backwards. In the air, his clothes exploded, revealing his naked body. The second one, Hades said calmly. He walked leisurely, as though he was taking a stroll in the park. Every time he raised a finger and tapped the space between the eyebrows of the expert, the latter's clothes would explode, and his body would fly backwards. The third one. The fourth one. How many was it again? As Hades counted, he suddenly became confused. He rolled his eyes, and after thinking for a while, he still couldn't figure it out. In front of the restaurant, Nangong Wuk was dumbfounded. His mouth was wide open, and his face was filled with disbelief. This guy who was taking a stroll in the park like an otherworldly expert, was he really that little Ha? That little Ha who carried a spicy strip every day and went in and out? It turned out that little Ha was so awesome. Nangong Wan looked at the naked bodies that were sent flying. She covered her eyes with her fair hands, and her face was red. She secretly cursed, "Ownerbu, you rogue." Bu Fong looked at Nangong Wan with a dumbfounded expression. The person who was stripping clothes wasn't me. So why did she say that I'm a rogue? Xiao Bai's ash-gray eyes flickered. He extended his fan-like hand and rubbed his round head. Looking at Hades, who was getting more and more excited, he also didn't know what to do. Yu's pitch-black eyes widened. She pouted and looked at the scene below excitedly. Her body floated up slightly, and her long black hair fluttered in the wind. It was as though she couldn't help but take action. Don't strip. Let's talk nicely. You stinking rogue. Get lost. I made new clothes. Don't strip them. The people of the Pill Palace went crazy. They looked at the naked bodies flying around, and their eyes were dazzled. Their minds were in a mess. They looked at Hades as though they were looking at a terrifying devil. There were a few women among them, and they were so scared that their faces turned pale. They covered their chests and ran away in a panic. Looking at the pile of naked bodies in the distance, the women's hearts started to beat faster. They were so scared that they almost cried. Don't be like this. The more Hades stripped, the more excited he became. He pointed at each person, and he was very happy. However, in the eyes of the crowd, his excited expression was like that of a devil. This lunatic, what about asking Bufong to get out of Heavenly Mist City? What about sealing the restaurant? Everything was forgotten by these people. At this moment, the only thing they could do was to run away in a panic. Otherwise, they would be stripped. They didn't want to be stripped, so they planned to run away with a face full of fear. Some of them were stripped, and they took out a new set of clothes from their spatial spirit tools to cover their bodies. However, before their clothes could warm up, they realized that a finger was pointed at the center of their brows. The clothes on their bodies were ripped apart with a ripping sound. Their bodies felt a chill that penetrated their hearts. What the F***CK, penetrating their hearts. This restaurant was poisonous. Hades narrowed his eyes. His white eyes were mesmerizing. Youngsters nowadays really knew how to play. This stripping was quite interesting. He would try it the next time he returned to the netherworld. Boom. A formless wave instantly spread out with Hades as the center. It filled the surroundings. Everyone let out a groan and fell to the ground. The Star Tower experts crawled up from the ground. Their faces were filled with fear as they stared at Hades. They had a dumbfounded expression on their faces. You pervert! The Star Tower experts almost vomited blood. This is the ceiling array that you guys laid, right? It's simply trash. The Nether King did not bother about the expert from the Star Tower. Instead, his gaze landed on the array that enveloped the store like a cage. He extended the finger that had sliced through countless people and tapped on the array. However, the array let out a crisp sound and shattered. Crack! A few elixirs fell from the air and gathered in Hades' hand. Looking at these elixirs, Hades casually tossed them into his mouth like he was eating beans. After chewing for a while, his brows furrowed. His brows suddenly twisted, and his face looked as ugly as if he had eaten **T. When the Star Tower experts saw Hades' expression, they felt a sharp pain in their chests. Those were 6-mark spirit elixirs that they had refined. If you ate it, then you ate it. Why did you show such an expression as if you had eaten **T? Were you looking down on the elixirs that they had refined? Poochie. One of the Star Tower experts couldn't take this humiliation and vomited a mouthful of blood. He covered his naked body and staggered backwards. Bufong looked at the group of naked people indifferently, his face expressionless. I've said it before. If you come here to eat and enjoy, if you come here to cause trouble, I'll strip you naked. This time, I'll strip you naked. The next time, I'll kill you. Bufong's indifferent words lingered in everyone's heart. Even the Star Tower experts felt a chill down their spines. They looked at Hades, who was supporting himself against the wall and vomiting. They swallowed their saliva. The mysterious dog, the powerful netherworld woman, a puppet, and now another pervert. This restaurant. It was simply terrifying. No wonder he had the confidence to kill the people of the ancient Shura city and snatch their divine tool. No matter what, you are the sinner of the Heavenly Mist City. The Pill Palace will not tolerate you. The Star Tower expert's face was ashen as he roared. He covered his lower body, and in the next instant, he turned around and ran into the distance. The others also followed his figure, turning around and running. A pile of shining white buttocks swayed in the rain. It was a spectacular sight. When you saw the group of people running away, her restless heart couldn't help but calm down. In her heart, she felt that it was a pity after Hades finished vomiting. His legs trembled as he returned. He looked at Bufong with a deathly pale face. Young man, I accidentally ate something bad. I need the comfort of chili strips. The corners of Bufong's mouth twitched. Looking at Hades' miserable appearance, he casually waved his hand and 3 chili strips appeared, falling into Hades's hand. Hades, who had obtained the chili strips, seemed to have obtained a new life. He ran to the side and started sucking the chili strip in and out. The spicy taste of the abyss made him extremely addicted. Nangong Wuk looked at Hades in amazement, as though he had discovered a new continent. He moved to Hades's side, his eyes shining as he said, "Little Ha, your clothes-stripping finger is too awesome. Can you teach me?" Hades raised his head, sucking on the chili strip. He glanced at Nangong Wuk and said, "Sure. 5 chili strips." Nangong Wuk was instantly speechless. This guy had gone crazy thinking about chili strips. Heavenly Pill City, a powerful aura filled the sky above Pill City. The experts of the Star Tower gathered. The palace master, Luo Danqing, who was wearing a loose robe, stood proudly in the sky. His eyes were incomparably deep as he looked into the distance. There, the gates of Heavenly Pill City slowly opened, the creaking sound resounding through the 9 heavens. Rumble. Outside the Pill City, the Shura army stood in great numbers, their faces filled with madness as they looked at the many experts in the Pill Palace. The Shura sovereign was wearing a full set of armor, holding the Shura sword in one hand. An evil smile hung on his face. His eyes seemed to be able to pierce through the void, looking straight at the palace master, Luo Danqing, who had a deep gaze. A great battle was about to break out. Chapter 610. Heavenly Mist City. Pill Tower. A metallic battleship flew over, tearing through the air. It slowly stopped on the platform in front of the Pill Tower. From the battleship, a figure slowly walked out. He was wearing a long robe, and the robe's tail was very long, dragging on the ground. This person had his hands clasped behind his back, and his pale white hair fluttered in the wind. He squinted his eyes, and under the respectful gaze of Grandmaster Xian Ming and the others, he stepped into the Pill Tower. Within a room in the Pill Tower, the 5th Elder's face was pale, and he continuously coughed out blood. He sat cross-legged, trying to heal his injured body. The stone door opened, and a figure wearing a long robe stepped in. "Old 5, it seems like your injuries aren't light," the person said with a faint smile, and his face was kind. The 5th Elder opened his eyes, and when he saw the person in front of him, he was slightly stunned. "3rd Elder, why is it you?" The 3rd Elder smiled faintly. "Why can't it be me? Right now, the Shura sovereign is leading the Shura army to attack the city. The palace master has no time to spare to see you, so he sent me here." The 5th Elder's pale face slightly furrowed. "The Shura army is attacking the city. Can the palace master solve it?" The 3rd Elder shook his head, and he found a seat in the secret room to sit down. He sighed and said, "This time's attack is very special, and the Hidden Dragon Royal Court is also participating in it. It's obvious that the Hidden Dragon Royal Court wants to attack our Pill Palace's alchemy industry. It's just like the Valley of Gluttony in the past. After I deal with your matters here, I have to rush back to participate in the war. The current situation isn't optimistic." After he finished speaking, the entire secret room fell into silence. After a long time, the 3rd Elder broke the silence, and he said, "Old 5, did you meet a girl when you came out of the secret realm?" "A white-haired girl." "You said that white-haired girl. She's the runner-up of this year's Magical Hand Conference, right?" "White Demon Jiangling," the 5th Elder said. "That's right, that girl is my good-for-nothing disciple. Alas, I originally thought that this girl would be able to become the champion in one fell swoop after living in seclusion for 3 years. I didn't expect that she would fail in the end." The 3rd Elder sighed helplessly. "That girl is fine. Although she was seriously injured, after eating the elixir, her injuries have stabilized. This time, the appearance of the ferocious beast from the netherworld in the Heaven Secret Territory is too strange. Once I recover from my injuries, I will definitely continue to investigate," the 5th Elder said solemnly. After the 3rd Elder found out that Jiangling was safe, his eyes slightly lit up. After chatting with the 5th Elder for a while, he left the secret chamber and headed towards Jiangling's location. My good disciple, I hope you finished what I asked you to do and summon that lord. After the third elder walked out of the secret chamber, his footsteps became even faster as a fanatical look appeared in his eyes. Cloud Mist Restaurant. The rain in the sky was still pouring nonstop, getting heavier and heavier. The pitter-patter, it was difficult to stop. In front of the restaurant, the ground was littered with pieces of cloth, floating in the rain. It made one's imagination run wild. Before that, what kind of inhumane and terrifying thing happened in front of the restaurant? Bufang looked at the group of white demons in the distance dispersing, then returned to the kitchen unhurriedly, continuing to practice his culinary skills. Hades, on the other hand, was holding the 5 chili strips that Bufang gave him, happily going in and out at the side. You sat on a netherworld ship, swinging her white and beautiful legs. Her jet-black hair spread out. Her fine black hair hung down from her forehead, causing her exquisite face to become even more hazy. Lord Dog was lying on the ground, snoring loudly. The fat on his body shook as he breathed in and out. 80, this idealistic chicken, was taking a leisurely stroll in the restaurant. The spiritual energy around the Path Understanding tree was quite rich, allowing him to enjoy it very much. Xiaobai had already returned to the kitchen, and Xiaopi was naughtily sitting on its round head. In the restaurant, only the Nangong siblings and a few other customers were left, looking at each other in dismay. After a long time, Nangong Wuk pulled Hades, who was happily sucking on the chili strip, out of the restaurant. For a moment, the restaurant became extremely quiet. After practicing his culinary skills for a while, Bufang walked out. He pulled a chair over and sat in front of the door. Looking at the pitter-patter of rain outside, he curled up on the chair and let out a long breath. This kind of leisurely atmosphere, it seemed, not bad. The rain continued to fall, splashing and forming a single sheet, like a curtain of beads, hazy and indistinct. It was unknown when the autumn rain would stop. As Bufang looked at it, his eyelids gradually became heavy, and he couldn't help but close them. After a while, light snoring sounds came from his nose. Outside, the heavenly pill city, the atmosphere was majestic. Tens of thousands of Shura army gathered together, and their terrifying true energy merged together, shooting up to the sky. It seemed as though they wanted to scatter the clouds in the sky. The few peak experts of the ancient Shura city stood proudly. Their true energy surged, and the true energy chains behind them shot up to the sky, swaying unceasingly. The Shura sovereign wore a suit of armor, and a faint smile appeared on his devilish face. His eyes were overbearing as he looked at the distant city walls of the heavenly mist city. As he watched the city gates slowly open, the smile on his face became more intense. Among the Shura army, there was a giant war drum. Several women dressed in martial attire stood there, and the one leading them was the Shura saintess, who wore a solemn expression. She held a drumstick in her hand, and her graceful figure danced as she pounded the drum. The beating of the war drum was like a thunderclap, and it caused intense ripples in people's hearts. Every beat of the drum seemed to have some kind of magical power, and it made people's blood boil. The Shura army's experts' aura rose unceasingly as they listened to the beating of the drum. The Shura army roared, and its aura shook the 9 heavens. At this moment, the Shura army was like an incomparably sharp divine sword that wanted to cut through everything. There was nothing it couldn't cut through. Even the experts from the Hidden Dragon Royal Court had grave expressions on their faces when they saw this scene. As expected of the Shura army, although the Shura sovereign is arrogant, his ability to lead troops is really strong. No wonder he dared to challenge the Hidden Dragon Royal Court. The Shura army's aura was surging, and the experts of the Heavenly Pill City who were facing them were terrified. On top of the city walls, alchemists wearing alchemy robes stood. Their faces were filled with fear as they looked at the terrifying army that was like a pack of tigers and wolves. In their eyes, it was as though they could see a tyrannical blood-red shadow. It was like a Shura, and it made them feel despair. The alchemists who opened the city gates and rushed out were even more terrified. They were facing the terrifying might of the Shura army more directly than the experts standing on top of the city walls. They were just alchemists. Although their cultivation base wasn't weak, they were no match for the Shura army that had crawled through mountains of blades and seas of blood. Their opponent's aura alone made their legs shiver. They were almost paralyzed on the ground. The Pill Palace's master, Luo Danqing, wore a loose robe as he stood on top of the city walls. The wind howled, fluttering his robe. His long eyelashes shivered, but his face was indifferent. He looked at the terrifying army of tigers and wolves. His eyes seemed to pierce through the void, landing on the overbearing Shura sovereign, who was standing on the war chariot with his sword. Their eyes collided in the void, and an explosion seemed to resound. Pill Palace's master, Luo Danqing, I heard that you're an expert with a divine soul, with a 3-step soul ladder. Even in the hidden dragon royal court, you're really strong. Although I'm not talented, I like to challenge experts. Today, I will point my Shura sword at you. Let's fight. The Shura sovereign smiled faintly. A wave of domineering aura swept over. Luo Danqing's eyes were indifferent, without joy or sorrow. My Pill Palace has no enmity with your ancient Shura city. Why did you attack my Pill Palace? Just because of that little chef? You and I are the masters of big forces. You don't need to use that excuse. Is it because the hidden dragon royal court wants to destroy my Pill Palace? No, it's really because of that little chef. Of course, destroying the Pill Palace is just a side mission. The Shura sovereign shouldered his Shura sword, the corners of his mouth twitching as he smiled faintly. Luo Danqing didn't say anything else. However, a murderous aura gradually emerged between his brows. His gentle face became fierce at this moment. Dong, dong, dong. The war drums resounded unceasingly. Luo Danqing listened to the war drums, clasping his hands behind his back. From the top of the city walls, he walked step by step. He walked in the air as if he was walking on flat ground. With every step he took, the aura on his body became stronger. In front of the Shura army, he seemed to have turned into a towering mountain. Moreover, that mountain was still getting bigger. Using the aura of one person to block the Shura army's tens of thousands of troops, this ability was indeed frightening. The experts of the Heavenly Pill City looked at Luo Danqing's back with sincere admiration. This was their palace master, their supreme palace master, Luo Danqing. Dong, dong. The Shura saintess's face was solemn. Her beautiful body danced continuously. The drumsticks were waved, hitting the surface of the drum, and the sound of the drum shook people's hearts. Luo Danqing's gaze shifted and landed on the Shura saintess. After letting out a light breath, he opened his mouth and let out a long whistle. That whistle soared to the sky like a sharp spear stabbing down, wanting to poke a big hole in the Shura army's terrifying aura. The Shura saintess let out a groan. Her body was sent flying, and she coughed out blood. The surface of the war drum was directly shattered, and the drumsticks were sent flying. What a good jade-faced alchemist, Luo Danqing. Fight! The Shura sovereign's eyes were like lightning, shooting out rays of light that pierced the sky. The Shura sword was in his hand, and a bloody light filled the air. In an instant, a terrifying aura soared to the sky. The Shura sovereign stepped on the war chariot, and with the Shura sword in his hand, he moved forward with indomitable will. Behind him, 2 layers of blood-colored stairs appeared. It was his soul ladder, the symbol of an expert at the divine soul realm. The tyrannical true energy storm swept out in an instant. No matter if it was the experts of the Heavenly Pill City or the Shura army, they all raised their heads and looked at the 2 figures in the sky. The Shura sovereign versus the jade-faced alchemist Luo Danqing. Their emotions couldn't help but get excited. Luo Danqing roared, and his long robe fluttered. Behind him, a green light expanded, and 3 green soul ladders appeared. His entire body was wrapped in a storm of energy. You dare to attack my Pill Palace? You have to bear my, Luo Danqing's anger. The Pill Palace cannot be bullied. Alchemists are noble, and they cannot be encroached upon. Luo Danqing's eyes turned green. He opened his hands, and instantly, the energy around his body gathered rapidly, forming a huge, flaming green lotus in the air. The green lotus spun, and the flames soared to the sky. The experts of the Heavenly Pill City were so excited that their faces turned red. That was the palace master Luo Danqing's heaven and earth obsidian flame, the green lotus of destruction. Among the heaven and earth obsidian flames, it was a top-notch heaven and earth obsidian flame. No matter what kind of heaven and earth obsidian flame you are, under my Shura sword, you are nothing but a chicken or a stray dog. Fight! The Shura sovereign's face didn't change. He raised his sword, and sword energy soared into the sky. Chapter 6:11. Along Yana rose. A cool breeze blew, making Bufang open his sleepy eyes. Unknowingly, he had fallen asleep on the chair. Rubbing his hair, Bufang stood up from the chair. He looked at the sky and found that it was getting dark. Turning his head to look at the restaurant, he saw that you had gone back to the Netherworld ship to sleep. The Lord Go was still snoring. 80, the chicken, was nesting in a corner of the Path Understanding tree, sleeping soundly. Stretching his body, Bufang put the chair back in its original position. He closed the bronze door of the restaurant and returned to the kitchen. After practicing his culinary skills one more time, he left the kitchen and climbed up the stairs. Passing by Yang Meiji's room, he found that the light was still on, and he could vaguely feel the fluctuation of true energy. The fluctuation of true energy was accompanied by the fragrance of elixirs and heat. No doubt, Yang Meiji was still diligently practicing her alchemy skills. Without disturbing her, Bufang returned to his room and carefully locked the door. Then, he entered the bathroom to take a shower. After the shower, he covered his wet hair with his hands and lay down on the boat. He closed his eyes and went to sleep. In front of the Heavenly Pill City, the massive green lotus flame was spinning in the sky, as if it was burning the void. The terrifying temperature and energy shook the sky. From the ground, a beam of sword light shot up. The sword energy crisscrossed, accompanied by a terrifying sword cry. Boom! The two of them collided, creating a violent collision. The Shura sovereign's face was cold. He swung his long sword, and countless beams of sword light hovered around his body, attacking Luo Danqing. Luo Danqing swung his arm. The flames in the sky were under his control, constantly changing, transforming into different kinds of strange beasts. It was an alchemist's fire control technique. As the Pill Palace's master, Luo Danqing's fire control technique had reached the pinnacle. The flames seemed to be controlled by his arms, changing according to his thoughts. The Shura sovereign's sword Qi was also extremely terrifying. His Shura sword was a divine artifact. As the Shura sovereign's sword Qi slashed down, the shockwave spread out and hit the Great City Barrier Formation of Heavenly Pill City. The Great City Barrier Formation rippled as if it was going to collapse at any moment. The more the Shura sovereign fought, the crazier he became. His eyes were bloodshot, and his handsome face was filled with excitement. All kinds of sword moves were displayed, and surging true energy rumbled in the sky. The blood-colored soul ladder above his head trembled unceasingly, and it constantly emitted abundant, true energy, which made the Shura sovereign more and more valiant as he fought. The blue soul ladder above Luo Danqing's head also glowed, allowing him to fight the Shura sovereign calmly. The battle between the two was fierce and violent, causing people's hearts to palpitate. The experts of the ancient Shura city were incomparably excited. The experts under the Shura sovereign's banner roared, holding their spears and dashing towards Luo Danqing. The blood-colored soul ladder emerged above their heads. However, they only had one step, which made them weaker. At the same time, some elders of the Pill Palace also dashed out. They were wearing loose alchemist robes, like Luo Danqing. As they waved their robes, alchemic flames spread out, clashing with the experts of the ancient Shura city. Shouts and screams shook the sky. Energy boomed. The Great City Barrier formation of Heavenly Pill City was activated, and the terrifying array cannons shot out energy cannons. Under Luo Danqing's encouragement, the experts of the Heavenly Pill City regained their morale. They roared and charged out, fighting the Shura army. Clanging sounds reverberated, and the war broke out instantly. The entire Heavenly Pill City had become a sea of blood. Murderous aura and blood energy diffused everywhere. Some of the alchemists of the Pill Palace were killed, and some of the experts of the ancient Shura city were killed. Blood seemed to accumulate into a river, gurgling and gurgling. In just a blink of an eye, the battle had reached its climax. Many experts had joined hands, and the entire Pill Palace had become the center of a vortex. Around the Pill Palace, many experts were secretly watching. These experts came from other forces, and they wanted to know the final outcome of the battle. Under such circumstances, they would not choose to join the battle. This battle was very fierce, but the final outcome would still depend on the battle in the sky. Was the Shura sovereign stronger, or was the palace master of the Pill Palace stronger? The winner would decide the direction of the war. Among the Shura army, the expert of the Hidden Dragon Royal Court stood with his hands clasped behind his back. He looked at the sky, watching the battle between the two, and his brows slightly furrowed. The palace master of the Pill Palace, Luo Danqing, was really strong. No wonder he was the strongest expert of the Pill Palace. However, although the Shura sovereign was one realm lower, he wasn't weak at all. When he fought, he was still as fierce as ever, and the sounds of killing reached the sky. The Shura sword was displayed to the extreme, and the Shura sword was unparalleled. However, the Shura sovereign couldn't kill Luo Danqing. The eyes of the Hidden Dragon Royal Court's expert sparkled. He took a deep breath, looking at the jade-faced alchemist Luo Danqing. He was strong, but the Hidden Dragon Royal Court didn't need such an expert. The Pill Palace was the holy land of alchemists. How could it be independent from the Hidden Dragon Royal Court? It must be like the Valley of Gluttony, a subordinate force of the Hidden Dragon Royal Court. Only then could the Hidden Dragon Royal Court's power continue to grow. The expert grinned. Light flashed in his hand, and suddenly a pitch-black longbow appeared in his hand. Gazing at Luo Danqing in the sky, the expert slowly pulled the longbow. Instantly, energy gathered in the bow, turning into a light arrow. The green lotus flame filled the sky, and the blood-red Shura sword. The two collided in the sky, and monstrous energy spread. Suddenly, Luo Danqing, who was fighting with the Shura sovereign with a calm face, felt his heart tighten. He felt a wave of cold intent attack him, and a monstrous, murderous intent swept over, causing his skin to slightly shrink. What's going on? Luo Danqing's pupil shrank. He struck out a palm, and the green lotus flame spread, forcing the Shura sovereign to retreat. However, a whistling sound came from below. With boundless energy, the arrow seemed to have pierced through the air as it rapidly shot towards him. What's that? How could it be so terrifying? Luo Danqing paled, covering his chest with both of his hands. Countless green lotus flames rolled, turning into a giant, savage beast, swallowing the light arrow in one gulp. Puff! Puff! The green lotus flame exploded. Luo Danqing's face paled. His chest was pierced, and the light was constantly eroding his wound. Blood splashed in the sky. Luo Danqing coughed out blood unceasingly, his body staggering backward in the air. The Shura sovereign frowned. He held the Shura sword tightly, stopping his attack. His cold eyes swept over the Hidden Dragon Royal Court's expert below. At this moment, the latter was smiling, putting away the pitch-black longbow in his hand. Did I ask you to take action? The Shura sovereign roared indignantly. What did this guy mean? Did he think he couldn't defeat Luo Danqing? Although the Shura sovereign had one less soul adder than Luo Danqing, in terms of fighting power, he wasn't weak at all. The Hidden Dragon Royal Court's expert attack made him feel humiliated. Luo Danqing paled. That arrow had wounded him badly. He looked at the Shura sovereign, coughing blood again. His blood filled the sky. I can defeat you. the Shura sovereign said coldly. He stood on the war chariot, his aura overbearing. The corners of Luo Danqing's mouth twitched. He didn't say anything, but his attitude enraged the Shura sovereign. Luo Danqing took out an 8-mark spirit pellet and shoved it into his mouth. His wound was finally stabilized. The Heavenly Spring Holy Land's God-slaying bow. Are you from the Hidden Dragon Royal Court's Heavenly Spring Holy Land? Luo Danqing clutched his pierced chest, his cold voice echoing in the sky. The expert from the Hidden Dragon Royal Court chuckled. Jade-faced alchemist isn't ordinary. You didn't die from the god-slaying Bao's arrow. I'm the Heavenly Spring Holy Lands. Jiaoya, the middle-aged man, said casually. In the sky, Luo Danqing coughed out another mouthful of blood, his eyes deep. You want to kill me, Luo Danqing, with a bow but no arrow. You look down on me too much. I have an arrow, but I have to save it to kill the netherworld creatures. I can't waste it on you. It's not that I look down on you, but you're not good enough. Jiaoya played with the longbow in his hand, smiling faintly. At this moment, the entire Heavenly Pill city quieted down. The change in the sky made everybody gawk and drop their jaws. The Heavenly Pill city's alchemists were enraged. Their palace master, the supreme palace master in their hearts, was cruelly wounded like a prey. That man looked down on their palace master. He only used a bow without an arrow. It was too much. Shura's sovereign, if you don't take action now, when will you? Kill Luo Danqing. Then, we will fulfill half of our promise, said Jiaoya. The Shura sovereign's eyes were cold, raking through Jiaoya. Do you think I, the Shura sovereign, look like a shameless man? I, the Shura sovereign, won't bother to deal with such a sinister scheme. The Shura sovereign held the Shura sword in his hand, his long sword crossing the sky as he spoke domineeringly. Luo Danqing's mouth twitched, looking at the Shura sovereign. His body turned into a shooting star, landing on the Heavenly Pill City. At this moment, the experts of Heavenly Pill City gathered and landed on top of the Heavenly Pill City. Luo Danqing's body swayed, coughing blood. His face was ashen. Today I was careless. Heavenly Spring Holy Land Jiaoya, I'll remember this. Luo Danqing said. Jiaoya squinted, the ancient longbow in his hand emerging. If the Shura sovereign doesn't want to take action, I'll shoot another arrow. Anyway, I must kill you. The bow was drawn, and the arrow was shot. The light arrow hissed, its speed so fast that people couldn't catch it. Crack! Crack! The Heavenly Pill City's great protective formation was smashed by this arrow. The light arrow didn't slow down, continuing to roar and shoot towards Luo Danqing. Luo Danqing's eyes gazed at that arrow. All of a sudden, a figure appeared in front of him. Both of his hands grabbed the light arrow, hissing as he tried to stop it. Terrifying true energy shot out. The soul ladder above that man's head bloomed with the ultimate radiance. In the end, it cracked. The light arrow pierced through that man's body, making him kneel on the city wall. Palace Master, run. The man slowly turned his head and let out a low growl. Fourth Elder. Luo Danqing's calm face, which had always been like an ancient well, was shaken at this moment. His face showed the sorrow of a wounded beast. The Great Elder and the Second Elder landed by Luo Danqing. Looking at the broken soul ladder and the Fourth Elder's chest, tears sparkled in their eyes. A moment later, they grabbed Luo Danqing, heading deeper into the Heavenly Pill City. Shura Sovereign, can we go after him now? You don't need to kill Luo Danqing, but you can clean up the mess, right? After we're done, we should go to Heavenly Mist City, the Netherworld Woman and the Netherworld creatures. My god-slaying bow has been thirsty for a long time. Jiaoya played with the god-slaying bow, looking at the Shura Sovereign who was holding a sword in the sky. The Shura Sovereign gave him a deep look. He didn't say anything, but his body flew towards Heavenly Pill City. In front of the Star Tower, the high-ranking officials of the Heavenly Pill City descended one after another. Their faces were filled with grief and sorrow. Let's go. Activate the formation to Heavenly Mist City, Send the palace master to Heavenly Mist City. All of you, go to Heavenly Mist City. The great elder stooped, looking at the disciples of the Star Tower, his eyes solemn. A moment later, he waved his hand, and the Star Tower shrunk. He shoved it into Luo Danqing's chest. Luo Danqing's eyes moved, looking at the great elder. His brows furrowed, but he wasn't angry. Great elder, what do you want to do? No, let's go. The great elder looked at Luo Danqing, sighing. The disciples of the Star Tower activated the teleportation formation. Immediately, a group of people stepped into the teleportation formation and left. Before they left, they saw a stooped figure standing in front of the teleportation formation, looking so desolate. The Shura's sovereign stepped on the air, indifferently looking at the group of people leaving through the teleportation formation. He didn't stop them, his eyes falling on the great elder. The hunchback grand elder cleared his throat, then looked up at the Shura sovereign. His wrinkled face broke into a smile. Let this old man witness the sword intent of the Shura sovereign. Chapter 612. Heavenly Mist City. At the Pill Tower's teleportation, Araya radiance suddenly shone. That dazzling radiance was so dazzling that many people were shocked. How could the radiance of this array be so dazzling? In the next instant, the array began to revolve. From within, numerous figures appeared. There were so many of them that they piled up the entire teleportation array. The experts of the Heavenly Mist City were dumbfounded. Those experts that appeared in the teleportation array were all famous experts of the Pill Palace. Those people were all experts from the Star Tower. And the person in the middle, wasn't he the Palace Master, Luo Danqing? Why did the Palace Master come to the Heavenly Mist City? Many people were still dumbfounded. However, some of them seemed to have thought of something. Their faces suddenly changed, becoming extremely ugly. Many disciples that walked out of the teleportation array had faces filled with grief. As soon as they walked out of the teleportation array, they knelt on the ground and cried bitterly. In an instant, a sorrowful aura filled the air. After Grandmaster Xianming received the news, he hurried over. When he saw the scene, he was also shocked. After knowing the truth, Grandmaster Xianming's body almost went limp. How could he have imagined that the supreme palace master of the Pill Palace would actually be defeated? After retreating from the Heavenly Pill City, they returned to the last Pill City of the Pill Palace, the Heavenly Mist City. How tragic was the situation for such a situation to occur? Was the Pill Palace really going to be defeated in this war? Was the Pill Palace really going to be trampled by the Shura army of the ancient Shura city? Palace Master Luo Danqing's face was a little ugly. After stabilizing his injuries, his face was gloomy. He swept his gaze across everyone and said calmly, "Adjust your condition. Our war isn't over yet. Not long after, the Shura army will definitely attack the Heavenly Mist City. We don't have time to be sad." After hearing the Palace Master's words, everyone's heart shivered. They all raised their heads and nodded. However, everyone's body was slightly trembling. It was obvious that they had already lost hope in this war. After the third elder and the fifth elder received the news, they also hurried over. The third elder's face was filled with disbelief. How could they be defeated so quickly? He was about to rush back to Heavenly Pill City to participate in the war, but Heavenly Pill City had already fallen. The people of the Hidden Dragon Royal Court have made their move. Their real goal is to turn our Pill Palace into a place like the Valley of Gluttony, Luo Danqing said with a grimace. If it weren't for the god-slaying bow, he wouldn't have been defeated. Although the Shura sovereign was strong, he was only evenly matched with him. He wouldn't have been able to defeat the Shura sovereign in such a short time. Sure enough, finding a little chef was just an excuse. The purpose of everything was to take over the Pill Palace. The Hidden Dragon Royal Court couldn't resist the temptation of the elixir industry. One overbearing force. Recalling the 2 arrows that Jiaoya from the Heavenly Spring Holy Land had shot at him, his face darkened, sorceress and Sheng looked a little haggard. She looked around with a complicated expression on her face. Who would have thought that they would still be able to return to Heavenly Mist City? However, it was done in such a pathetic manner. Prepare a secret chamber for me. I need to recuperate. Third elder, bring some people to that restaurant to see what kind of little chef he is. How could he become the excuse for the ancient Shura city to attack our pill palace? All right, everyone, hurry up and recover. The bitter battle is still going on. Even if our pill palace is destroyed, we must bite a piece of their flesh. Heavenly Pill City had fallen. This news instantly spread throughout the entire Heavenly Mist City. An insider revealed that last night, Palace Master Luo Danqing brought a group of geniuses from the Star Tower and retreated to Heavenly Mist City. The entire Heavenly Mist City was in an uproar when they heard this news. Everyone's face was filled with disbelief. Heavenly Pill City was supreme in the hearts of everyone in the Pill Palace. It was the strongest pill city among the 3 pill cities. However, who would have thought that such a powerful pill city would be destroyed? Even the palace master was injured and had to retreat to Heavenly Mist City. Could such a Heavenly Mist City resist the Shura army that was like a ferocious tiger? In an instant, the entire Heavenly Mist City was in a state of panic. Many people were close to despair. They didn't know what to do. Some of them were even prepared to leave the Heavenly Mist City. However, the Heavenly Mist City had been completely sealed. No one could leave. The atmosphere of panic filled the entire Heavenly Mist City. Under this kind of panic, some people shifted their attention to the Dark Horse Chef that the Shura Sovereign had mentioned. They thought that the Dark Horse Chef was the cause of all this. They clamored to hand him over. In an instant, the entire Heavenly Mist City became enraged. Morning. The rain had finally stopped. The sky was clear, and a beam of warm sunlight shone through the window, shining on the bed. Bufang opened his eyes. Feeling the warm sunlight, he couldn't help but stretch his body. After putting on the vermilion robe, Bufang washed his face and rinsed his mouth. Then, he walked out of his room and headed downstairs. When he reached the ground floor, he bumped into Yang Meiji, who was standing at the entrance of the kitchen. Yang Meiji's big body was squeezed in the stairwell, making the entire space a little narrow. "What are you doing here?" Bufang looked at Yang Meiji suspiciously. "I want to enter the kitchen, but this iron lump won't let me in. I want to cook egg fried rice, but I can't." Yang Meiji was really depressed. No matter what, she had given this restaurant to Bufang. She didn't expect that she wouldn't even be able to enter the kitchen. The kitchen was an important place. Of course, she couldn't just let anyone in. Bufang looked at Yang Meiji. He still remembered the egg fried rice that Yang Meiji had cooked, which didn't have any aroma at all. This woman's cooking skills could be compared to that little girl Xiaoi. How could he let her into the kitchen? "All right, wait in the restaurant. What do I want to eat?" "Just order something," said Bufang. Then, he entered the kitchen. Yang Meiji looked at Bufang's back as he entered the kitchen, feeling even more gloomy. Xiao Bai's purple eyes twinkled as he stared at her, giving her goosebumps. Feeling bored, Yang Meiji turned around and left. She walked into the restaurant, planning to open the bronze door and start the business. However, as soon as she opened the door, what she saw were many pairs of blood-red eyes. The terrifying, murderous aura made Yang Meiji shiver. "What's going on?" Yang Meiji was bewildered. She didn't know what was going on. Why were there so many people in front of the restaurant? Moreover, this group of people looked so fierce. It was scary, so scary. Bufang also heard the commotion. He couldn't help but walk out of the kitchen, frowning as he looked at the group of people. Why were there so many people surrounding him today? Wasn't stripping yesterday enough to frighten these people? As Bufang stood in front of the restaurant, the group of people glared at Bufang, roaring angrily. The air was filled with fear and despair, which made Bufang even more suspicious. "Get out of Heavenly Mist City. Hand over the culprit. He's the one who destroyed Heavenly Pill City and Heavenly Shine City. Hand him over, and our Heavenly Mist City can be saved." The crowd was enraged. Compared to the day before, their anger was even thicker. Yu and Xiao Bai had appeared behind Bufang. Xiao Bai's purple eyes twinkled. You looked at the group of people, her unbelievably beautiful face showing a hint of excitement. Could it be that this woman was excited about being able to strip again? Bufong was speechless when he saw Yu's expression. Moreover, stripping was Xiao Bai's job. The crowd pushed and shoved. Nangong, Wuk, and Hades walked out of the crowd, looking at the scene in astonishment. They went to Bufong's side. Nangong Wuk moved his head closer to Bufong. Old Bu, did you do something that angers even the gods? Why are these people here to cause trouble for you? Bufong glanced at him from the corner of his eyes and said indifferently, guess. Nangong Wuk rolled his eyes. He knew that he wouldn't be able to get any answers from Bufong. The Nether King leaned against the door frame and flicked his jet black hair. Yesterday, I didn't have enough stripping, and now, these people have delivered themselves to my door. It seems like Hades' stripping finger is going to appear again. As soon as he finished speaking, another uproar rang out from the crowd. The crowd parted, and several figures slowly walked out. Bufong was slightly taken aback when he saw these figures, because Bufong was quite familiar with these people. Besides the old man wearing a loose robe, the white-haired Jiangling and the big-breasted sorceress and Sheng were all familiar faces. These two people were obviously led by the old man. What happened? Chapter 613. The third elder appeared in front of the restaurant with sorceress and Sheng and Jiangling. Although the restaurant had stirred up the crowd and many people were clamoring for Bufong to get out of heavenly Mist City, the third elder's prestige was still there. However, the third elder's prestige was still there. The moment he appeared, everyone present quieted down and looked at him, waiting for his speech. Bufong frowned as he stood in front of the restaurant. He calmly looked at the old man. Sorceress and Sheng stood behind the old man, winking as though she was trying to send a message to Bufong. The third elder's gaze landed on Bufong. This was the first time he saw the little chef that the Shura sovereign was talking to. Although this little chef's existence was just an excuse for the Shura army to attack the Pill Palace, since he was used as an excuse, he must be extraordinary. He had heard that this little chef had killed many experts from the ancient Shura city. This was the reason why he became the Shura sovereign's target. However, this time, the third elder's main goal wasn't this little chef. Instead, it was the handsome Nether King beside the little chef. Jiangling had already told him that the handsome man was the expert that she had released from the Heaven's secret territory according to his instructions. When he saw Hades, the third elder's heart couldn't help but be excited. Everyone retreat. The Shura army's attack wasn't just because of Chef. This little chef isn't to be blamed. Everyone, be rational. The third elder took a deep breath, then turned around to look at the crowd, and said to the furious crowd, in the Pill Palace, the few elders had high prestige. Although they couldn't be compared to the palace master, many people still listened to them. Since the third elder had spoken, many people retreated. Even those who weren't willing left the restaurant and stared at it from afar. When Bufong saw the crowd retreat, he looked at the old man in surprise. He didn't say anything and returned to the restaurant. The third elder brought sorceress and Sheng and Jiangling into the restaurant. When the third elder entered the restaurant, he calmly looked around and found that the environment was quite good. After giving a few words of praise, he looked toward Hades, and his face involuntarily revealed an excited expression. Sir, do you still remember me? When the third elder saw Hades, the excitement in his eyes became even more intense. The wrinkles on his face, which was full of wrinkles, also started to twitch. Hades was dumbfounded. Who the hell was this old man? How could he remember him? However, after staring at it carefully for a while, Hades also took a deep breath. Are you the little boy that I met when I traveled around the hidden dragon continent? Why are you so ugly? Hades was surprised. When the third elder saw that Hades recognized him, he was extremely excited. It turned out that there was an unspeakable entanglement between the third elder and Hades. While the third elder was respectfully chatting with Hades, sorceress and Sheng, who was a regular customer of the restaurant, was skillfully ordering dishes for the three of them. Bufong didn't interrupt the conversation between the third elder and little Hades. Instead, He turned around and entered the kitchen to start cooking. When the aroma of the dishes filled the air, Bu Fong carried the dishes out of the kitchen. At the dining table, the third elder and Hades had also finished chatting. The third elder's face was flushed, and his face was filled with satisfaction. Bu Fong raised his eyebrows in surprise. He looked at Hades and then at the third elder. What happened between the two of them? After placing the red braised meat that sorceress and Sheng ordered in front of her, Bu Fong pulled a chair over and sat down. He gently exhaled. Aren't you in Heavenly Pill City? Why you have a time to come to Heavenly Mist City? Bu Fong was puzzled. After the magical hand conference ended, this big-breasted woman seemed to have returned to Heavenly Pill City. Bu Fong didn't think that this woman would appear here. When Bu Fong asked this question, Sorceress and Sheng's expression froze. She couldn't help but reveal a mournful expression. She used her chopsticks to pick up a piece of steaming and fragrant red braised meat. She stuffed it in her mouth and said sadly, Heavenly Pill City. Heavenly Pill City has fallen. Bu Fong was slightly taken aback. Heavenly Pill City had fallen? As the biggest city in the Pill Palace, Heavenly Pill City shouldn't be so weak, right? A few days ago, Heavenly Shine City had just been breached. How could the news of Heavenly Pill City's destruction spread so quickly? Could it be that Heavenly Pill City didn't have any experts? The ancient Shura City said that their target was you. However, we don't believe it. This is just an excuse. Without the help of the Hidden Dragon Royal Court, even if the Shura Sovereign had 10 times the guts, he wouldn't dare to attack our Pill Palace. The third elder copied in Sheng's actions. He also picked up a piece of red braised meat and stuffed it into his mouth. As soon as the meat entered his mouth, the wrinkles on his face seemed to come alive. They twitched continuously. This meat, it was indeed delicious. Hidden Dragon Royal Court? Bu Fong was slightly taken aback. The Valley of Gluttony seemed to be a power of the Hidden Dragon Royal Court. Could it be that the Hidden Dragon Royal Court was trying to seek revenge for the Valley of Gluttony? However, after thinking about it, Bu Fong felt that the possibility of this was very small. The conflict between him and the Valley of Gluttony wasn't that big. It wasn't enough for it to escalate to a battle between two powers. The Hidden Dragon Royal Court must have wanted something from the Pill Palace. He was just an excuse for them to start a war. However, this kind of feeling was very unpleasant. Little chef, this old man still has to give you a piece of advice. Hurry up and run. Although the strength of your restaurant is very strong, the opponent is still an expert from the Hidden Dragon Royal Court. Even the palace master was seriously injured by the expert from the Hidden Dragon Royal Court. No matter how strong your restaurant is, it might not be able to withstand the attack, the third elder said. Bu Fong glanced at the third elder and shook his head. Run? That was impossible. When Hades heard the third elder's words, he instantly felt a little unhappy. Little brat, with I here, why would we be afraid of the Hidden Dragon Royal Court? I will say that if they come, I will strip them. If they come in a group, I will strip them all. If you strip one less, I will abstain from spicy strips for 3. Oh no, 2 days. Hades said as he rubbed his thick black hair. The third elder was dumbfounded. Strip? Strip what? Was there a generation gap between him and the Lord? Why couldn't he understand the Lord's words? Sigh, you don't need to care. When that group of people dares to come, tell them to come to the restaurant. I will teach them a lesson. Hades said domineeringly. Cough, cough. My lord, I've received news that the Hidden Dragon Royal Court's expert has the Hidden Dragon Royal Court's divine weapon, the God-slaying bow. That expert said that he wanted to use this bow to kill the netherworld creatures. I'm afraid his target is you, my lord. The third elder frowned. When Hades heard this, he was instantly enraged. Kill the netherworld creatures? Where did that stinky thing get his confidence from? He thought that he could use a broken bow to kill them? In this restaurant, the handsome Lord Hades, the beautiful netherworld woman, and the mangy dog were all netherworld creatures. How could that stinky thing be so arrogant? Could it be that the people of the Hidden Dragon Royal Court had eyes on their heads? Did they look down on the netherworld? Did they forget the fear of being controlled by the netherworld creatures? It was also the first time that Bu Fong heard that someone wanted to kill the netherworld creatures. He glanced at the lazy dog that was lying at the side, snoring loudly. That fat dog was the netherworld creature. Could it be that group of people's target, was it? Courting death, the corners of Bufong's mouth twitched, but he wasn't worried at all. If those people dared to come, they would definitely be smashed to death by the Lord Go's paw. When the third elder saw that Bufong and the others had such a tough attitude, he helplessly sighed. They didn't know how terrifying the god-slaying bow was. Under the god-slaying bow, many divine soul realm experts of the Pill Palace had fallen. Even someone as powerful as the Palace Lord was injured by one arrow. He really wasn't trying to scare them. It was better for this little chef to run away as soon as possible. Although the other party only used him as an excuse to start a war in order to save face, they would definitely attack the little chef. In the end, the third elder's persuasion didn't succeed. After finishing the red braised meat, the third elder took Jiangling and Sorceress and Sheng and left. The third elder had also obtained an opportunity that he had always wanted from the Netherworld King. Of course, Bufong couldn't abandon the Cloud Mist restaurant and run away. Moreover, he didn't need to run away. These days, the Heavenly Mist City's dark tide was surging. Because the Shura army had reorganized and started to attack the Heavenly Mist City from the south. They had broken through the Pill Palace's two great pill cities and wounded the Pill Palace Lord, Luo Danxing, with one arrow. The Shura army's aura had reached an unimaginable level. It was really terrifying. The entire Shura army had become a real army of tigers and wolves. They bared their fangs and brandished their claws as they wanted to crush the last pill city of the Pill Palace. They wanted to conquer the Pill Palace under their feet. And now, they only had one target left. Heavenly Mist City. The Shura sovereign was wearing his armor. Jiaoyu was playing with the ancient black god-slaying bow, his eyes calm. Finally, they had reached the Heavenly Mist City. The excitement on Jiaoyu's face gradually appeared. Any netherworld creature that appears in the Hidden Dragon continent must be under the control of the Hidden Dragon Royal Court. Heavenly Mist City, Cloud Mist Restaurant. A wave of dense energy floated out. Bufong walked out of the kitchen, wiping the sweat on his forehead. He took out many fragrant dishes. The dishes were overflowing with colorful lights, and there was a brilliance surging on them. He was familiar with those dishes. Spicy strips, vigorous beef meatballs, rampage ramen. They were the dishes he needed to arrange the gourmet array. Today, Bufong had walked through half of Heavenly Mist City to arrange the gourmet array. Thick aroma diffused. Half of Heavenly Mist City was covered in the aroma of food. The other party had come to his door. He had even said that he wanted to kill Blackie and capture you. Bufong thought that he had to let the other party know that his little buddies in his restaurant weren't easy to deal with. The chef also had his own anger. Chapter 614. The Shura army had arrived at the city gates once again. This time, they had arrived at the Heavenly Mist City. After a few days of silence, the news finally spread rapidly and completely filled the entire city. The morning sky turned dusky as dark clouds filled the sky. It was as if it was the prelude to the arrival of a storm, causing everyone's body to involuntarily become a little nervous. At this moment, the atmosphere within Heavenly Mist City became solemn and respectful. Determined expressions appeared on everyone's faces. The Shura army had gone too far. They had destroyed the Heavenly Shine City and flattened the Heavenly Pill City. Now, they didn't even want to let the last Pill City of the Pill Palace off. They wanted to flatten the Pill Palace. They wanted to exterminate every last one of them. What kind of enmity did they have? How could the ancient Shura city treat the Pill Palace like this? Some people's faces were filled with killing intent. There were people of the Pill City when they were alive and ghosts of the Pill City when they die. Thus, even if the Shura army attacked, they would not retreat. Some alchemists changed their sloppy appearance when they were concocting pills and wore brand new alchemy robes. They followed the army and stood on the city wall. A terrifying aura spread out and faced the army that was slowly approaching from afar. Their faces carried an indomitable aura. Even alchemists had an indomitable aura when they were protecting their home. Star Tower. The Star Tower that was originally located in the Heavenly Pill City had been reconstructed in the Heavenly Mist City. Starlight revolved on the Star Tower, constantly emitting surging energy. Under the Star Tower, countless higher-ups of the Pill Palace stood. They were silently waiting. Now that the Shura army was attacking the city, they needed a pillar, which was the Palace Master. As long as the Palace Master came out of seclusion, they would still have the strength to fight against the Shura army. After a long time, the ancient gate of the Star Tower slowly opened. A long creaking sound rang out from within. A figure slowly walked out, and a surging aura spread out. Luo Danqing's body was shining with light. His aura was constantly rising. Above his head, the green soul ladder bloomed with an extreme radiance. Luo Danqing's injuries seemed to have completely recovered. Looking at such a powerful palace master, many people's confidence seemed to have increased. They looked at Luo Danqing excitedly, waiting for his orders. Pill Palace cannot be bullied. The Shura sect has destroyed Heavenly Shine City and Heavenly Pill City. They want to destroy our homeland. We can't just sit here and wait for death. We must stand up and fight back. Today, either the Azura bastard dies, or we die. But even if we die, we will bite off a piece of their flesh and let them know that we cannot be humiliated. Luo Danqing roared. His aura was majestic, his eyes sharp as he looked at the sky. The higher-ups of the Pill Palace roared one after another. The experts of the Heavenly Mist City started to move. They all gathered outside the city, and every one of them had a determined look on their faces. This battle was the final battle, a battle to protect their dignity. Cloud Mist Restaurant. The bronze door opened. Bu Fong stood at the entrance of the restaurant with his hands clasped behind his back. His face gradually turned cold as he looked at the blood-colored clouds gathering in the sky. Hades leaned against the door. The corners of his mouth were slightly raised as he sucked a spicy strip in and out of his mouth. His eyes gazed into the distance, and a cold expression emerged on his face. A bunch of ant-like existences wants to kill the netherworld creatures. I will teach them a good lesson. When Bu Fong heard this, he turned his head and gave the Nether King a sidelong glance. Then you should go. Why are you staying here and eating spicy strips? I'm trying to build up my emotions. Moreover, the main characters are always the last to appear. If I just got like this, won't I lose face? The Nether King ignored Bu Fong and continued sucking on the spicy strip with a look of enjoyment on his face. The corners of Bu Fong's mouth twitched. Nangong Wuk moved his head closer to Bu Fong and said, I guess Little Ha is afraid that if he loses, he will have to abstain from eating spicy strips for 3 days. That's why he's eating as much as he can now. Naughty, don't talk nonsense. It's 2 days, Hades said solemnly. Bu Fong and Nangong Wuk rolled their eyes. The city walls of the Heavenly Mist City weren't as tall and majestic as the Heavenly Pill cities. However, in the eyes of the ancient Shura city's experts, this simple city wall was filled with a domineering aura. The experts of the Heavenly Mist City, standing on top of the city wall, revealed a crazed and ferocious expression. The Shura sovereign looked at this scene, and the corners of his mouth rose. Indeed, if they were pushed too hard, even a rabbit would bite when it was cornered, let alone the experts of the Pill Palace. This group of experts was ready to give it their all. However, the Shura sovereign's experience in war was much stronger than that group of alchemists who only knew how to refine elixirs in secret chambers. He understood their current state of mind. Thus, he didn't order them to attack the city immediately. Instead, he ordered the army to rest and reorganize. On the city wall, Luo Danqing, who was wearing a green alchemist robe, appeared. His face was cold as he looked at the Shura sovereign below him. What? How did you recover from your injuries so quickly? Did you use some secret technique or some forbidden elixir? The Shura sovereign wore a set of armor and a metal helmet. He stood on the war chariot with the Shura sword on his shoulder. He looked at Luo Danqing on the city wall. Many people on the heavenly mist city's city wall paled. They looked at Luo Danqing in fright. Secret technique, forbidden elixir. These things had huge side effects. Once they were used, it could damage the foundation of a person and even his vitality. I'm the palace master of the Pill Palace. I don't need those small tricks. Since you have the help of the Hidden Dragon Royal Court's experts, I guess you want to help the Hidden Dragon Royal Court to subdue our Pill Palace, right? If that's the case, our Pill Palace won't just stand there and wait. We want to fight. Let's fight. The people of the Pill Palace will fight to the death. His words caused the hearts of the Heavenly Mist City's experts, who were originally wavering, to become firm. All of their faces were filled with excitement as they roared furiously. The Shura Sovereign smiled faintly and clapped his hands. Instantly, a prison carriage came slowly. Inside the prison carriage was the Great Elder of the Heavenly Pill City. At this moment, the Great Elder's face was pale, and there was a trickle of blood at the corner of his mouth. When the people of the Heavenly Mist City saw this scene, their faces were filled with grief and indignation. At this moment, Luo Danqing's eyes became extremely cold. You shouldn't treat an admirable expert like that, Luo Danqing said angrily. The energy on his body rose rapidly. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, the temperature on the city wall suddenly rose. The temperature rose rapidly, and a cluster of green fire lotuses revolved above his head, bursting forth with extreme power. Ha, don't be angry. It's because I admire this expert that I spared his life. The Shura Sovereign looked at the enraged experts of the Heavenly Mist City. The corners of his mouth rose as he said, "Let's make a deal first." A deal? Everybody was bewildered. Even Luo Danqing slightly furrowed his brows. He didn't know what the Shura Sovereign was trying to sell in his gourd. What deal? Luo Danqing asked coldly. The Shura Sovereign played with the Shura blood sword in his hand. His palms slowly rubbed the cold edge of the sword. A moment later, he lifted his head, his eyes falling on Luo Danqing. Use the life of one of your people in the Heavenly Mist City to exchange for the Great Elder's life. Everybody was in an uproar. Use the life of one of the people in the Heavenly Mist City to exchange for the Great Elder's life. What did the Shura Sovereign want? Did the Shura Sovereign want to use the Palace Master's life to exchange for the Great Elder's life? How could he agree to such a condition? You're crazy. Luo Danqing coldly looked at the Shura Sovereign. The Shura Sovereign didn't mind. He gently exhaled, looking at Luo Danqing. Don't worry. I'm not exchanging for your life. I just want to use your Great Elder's life to exchange for that little chef's. This is fair, right? Use the Dark Horse chef's life to exchange for the Great Elder's life? So, this was the Shura Sovereign's plan? As soon as the Shura Sovereign's suggestion came out, everybody couldn't help but waver. Even Palace Master Luo Danqing couldn't help but hesitate. It was a really tempting suggestion. The Great Elder was an expert at the Divine Soul Realm. If he could use a little chef he had never met to exchange for his life, it wouldn't be a loss. No, Palace Master, sir. This is the Shura Sovereign's bewitching words. You can't believe them. While Luo Danqing was hesitating, the third elder suddenly shouted, making Luo Danqing jump in fright. Luo Danqing turned his head to look at the group of people behind him. He found that their fighting had almost disappeared. This Shura Sovereign. What a good scheme. All right. If you can't agree to this request, we will change it. The Shura Sovereign continued to look at Luo Danqing. Bring that little chef to the city wall. I want to know what kind of little chef he is. He actually dared to kill my ancient Shura City's experts and steal my ancient Shura City's divine artifact. What do you think? If you don't agree to this condition, the Shura Sovereign's voice fell. The Shura sword in his hand swung. Instantly, sword energy surged. It hovered above the Great Elder's head. Then, kill. Everybody's eyes shivered, and Luo Danqing's breathing stopped. At this moment, the third elder didn't know what to say because he realized that whatever he said was useless. At this moment, on the city wall, everybody's breathing became heavy. Luo Danqing's eyes also turned, falling on him. Third Elder. You should go and bring that little chef here. Luo Danqing sighed. The third elder opened his mouth, but he found that he couldn't say anything to refuse. However, in the next moment, an indifferent voice resounded. In the sky, a pitch-black, ice-cold netherworld ship slowly approached. At the front of the netherworld ship stood a slender and thin figure. Bufang's face was emotionless as he looked at the Shura army below. No need. I'm here. Chapter 615. Bufang was deep in thought, wondering when he should properly learn the art of fire control. He blocked the sword intent, because he saw Jiao Ye's wicked smile hanging on the corner of his mouth. He slowly pulled the ancient, pitch-black longbow in his hand to the fullest. Luo Danqing's eyes bloomed with a ruthless light. Shura's sovereign, you don't keep your word. The Nether King held a chili strip in his hand and continued to chew on it happily. Many people hadn't come back to their senses. They didn't know who that young man was, but they felt that he looked familiar. Bufang was suddenly interested in Luo Danqing's fire control technique. His control of fire was always weak. If he could control it more carefully, perhaps his cooking skills would improve tremendously. As soon as he finished talking, he roared. The Shura sovereign's aura began to rise unceasingly. Moreover, from the third elder, Bufang knew that this palace master had always supported him. He wasn't bewitched by the Shura sovereign's words. Bufang had some respect for the Pill Palace's master, who hadn't given up until now. Bufang furrowed his brows. He felt that the pitch-black pagoda on his chest seemed to become boiling hot. It slowly floated up. This time, Jiaoyu didn't want to kill him, but the little chef? The netherworld ship descended. You retrieved it, and the group landed on the city wall. A light arrow twinkled as majestic energy gathered. The Shura Saintess wore a full set of armor. Looking at Bufang, her face was a little complicated. This little chef had given her too many surprises. She didn't expect that they would meet in such a way. An arrow pierced the sky. It headed straight for Bufang. There were a few figures standing on the underworld ship. Among them, the most eye-catching one was a skinny figure standing at the forefront of the ship with his head bowed. Luo Danqing's mind was tense. He didn't dare to be careless in this battle, but he had to be vigilant at all times. If he got pierced by Jiao Ye's arrow like the last time, the Dan Palace wouldn't have any chance this time. Take this old man away from me. Shura's sovereign waved his hand and took away the carriage that was holding the great elder. The cyan heaven and earth obsidian flame seemed to turn into a giant phantom. It looked like an ancient demonic god. Its body was blurry, but its power was endless. The Shura sovereign's aura continued to rise. Luo Danqing was anxious, wanting to warn Bufang. The two collided, releasing a terrifying explosion. Explosions rolled and surged violently. His blood-colored cloak fluttered behind him like waves, setting off monstrous waves. The Shura sovereign's hand shook, dispersing the power of the giant palm. His sword shook, shattering the cyan flame that was like maggots in a bone. That palace master Luo Danqing's fire control technique was godly, and the Shura sovereign's sword intent was incomparably ferocious. Was he the little chef who had killed the people of the ancient Shura city and robbed the Shura tower? He lifted his eyes, gazing at the figure in the void. He looked at the young man, standing on a netherworld ship with his hands clasped behind his back. The corners of his mouth slowly curled up. Rip, Shura bastard, you bullied my pill palace. Blood for blood. That arrow wasn't aimed at him, but at the direction of the little chef. Luo Danqing's aura fluctuated unceasingly, and his anger rose unceasingly. He felt that he had been tricked by the Shura sovereign. Luo Danqing was bewildered, and the corners of his mouth couldn't help but twitch. He was really shameless. Before he could say anything, Jiaoyu loosened his hand. In Heavenly Mist City, everybody held their breaths. This battle was related to the Pill Palace's survival. Everybody was so nervous. Jiaoyu, an expert of the Hidden Dragon Royal Court, played with the ancient, pitch-black bow in his hand. His eyes gazed at the netherworld ship, which was covered in black smoke. He couldn't help but take a deep breath. Everybody lifted their heads, watching the pitch-black netherworld ship slowly approaching. The oppressive and terrifying aura filled the air on the netherworld ship. This was a battle between divine soul realm experts. Luo Danqing lifted his head, looking at Buffon. Looking at that calm and peaceful figure, his heart couldn't help but ripple. This was a really interesting young man. He was just being polite, but this kid actually took it seriously. The phantom controlled by Luo Danqing retreated unceasingly in the void, causing the void to tremble. Bufong extended his hand, his face emotionless as he grabbed the Shura tower, pressing it back to his chest. His eyes indifferently glanced at the Shura sovereign. "Hello, Palace Master." Bufong looked at Luo Danqing, nodding his head. "Netherworld creature. Netherworld ship? The Netherworld woman on a Netherworld ship. Seems like the target has appeared." A ball of flame rolled up. "You stinky chef. You actually dared to occupy I's Shura tower. Damn it. Shura's sovereign. The little chef has arrived. Are you going to fulfill your promise and release the Great Elder?" The Heavenly Mist City's great protective array instantly activated. Rumbling sounds resounded unceasingly, and streams of light brushed past the great array. "No need. I'm coming." His voice was full of energy, resounding in the sky. Everybody's breath involuntarily froze. They all looked in the direction of the Shura sovereign. The Shura sovereign held the Shura sword, and the sword intent swept out, as though it wanted to cut the air into pieces. The Shura sovereign coldly said. He swung the Shura sword, and the sword energy crisscrossed, turning into a blood-red sword light, smashing down on the city wall. Nangon Wuk's legs were a little weak. Lying on the Netherworld ship, he sneakily stuck his head out to see the terrifying scene below. Then, he let out an ouch and retracted his head. "It's that dark horse chef. He actually ran over here by himself. You really think that I can't defeat you? Today, my Shura sword will drink the blood of a divine soul expert." Smiling at Bufong, Luo Danqing turned around to look at the Shura sovereign below, his eyes sharp. His figure left the war chariot, and with each step he took, he seemed to be stepping on an invisible flight of stairs. Slowly, he soared into the sky, standing proudly above the vault of heaven. "Honorbu, right? You're really different from the rumors," Luo Danqing said, looking at Bufong. "The flame god of the Pill Palace's fire-controlling technique is really extraordinary. It's a pity. If you only have this skill, you will die today. My Shura sword will definitely kill you. Isn't he afraid of death? The Shura sovereign is looking for him, and he actually came here to die." The smile on the Shura sovereign's face disappeared. It was the same as when he met the Shura sovereign's clone. "Honorbu, why did he come out?" A faint voice lingered around the area, like a morning bell, ringing in everybody's heart. However, a moment later, everybody was scared out of their wits. In the next moment, the Azurisek sword in his hand soared into the sky, transforming into two into 10 into 1,000. While Luo Danqing was resisting the Shura sword, his eyes shifted, looking at Jiaoya in the middle of the Shura army. Holding the Shura sword, the Shura sovereign stepped out, thrusting his sword. Instantly, the phantom of a giant sword emerged behind him, pounding on the giant flaming palm. So scary. Why are there so many people? Was he the dark horse chef? Luo Danqing's body was embedded in the palm, urging the demon god to strike a palm, aiming at the Shura sovereign. The control of the flames was closely related to the taste of the dish. The Shura sovereign's body rose continuously, hovering high in the sky, overlooking the crowd below. His eyes were like lightning, gazing at Bufong. At this moment, Bufong was lifting his head to watch the battle between Luo Danqing and the Shura sovereign. He didn't feel the approaching danger. As the connection with the Shura tower was cut off, the Shura sovereign's strange face changed. His eyes were like a wild beast, gazing at Bufong. The Shura sovereign's strange face revealed a disdainful sneer. Boom! At this moment, the entire world seemed to become boiling hot, and the air seemed to boil. However, this chef was really a miraculous one. On the Netherworld ship, you stood with a cold face. Her long black dress fluttered in the wind, and her long black hair swayed slightly. Everybody was so frightened that they started to talk to each other. They looked at Bufong as if they were looking at a retard. The densely packed azure sect swords blotted out the sky, like dark clouds pressing down on a city, giving off a tremendous pressure. Bufong clasped his hands, standing in front of the city. Watching the battle between the two, he was a little shaken. "You're overpraising me. I've always been extraordinary." Bufong nodded, speaking seriously. The entire heavenly mist city seemed to shake at this moment. Above his head, the blood-red soul ladder emerged. Light moved on the soul ladder, bringing with it an aura that could shake people's hearts. A long and deafening roar resounded, causing everyone to cover their ears involuntarily. It would have been better if he hadn't seen it, but now, the hair on his body stood on end. His eyes gazed at Bufong, ignoring Luo Danqing. It was as if in the entire heavenly mist city, only Bufong was his target. That figure was expressionless, his calm eyes looking at the Shura army below. "You mean it? Sure. Give me this stinky chef, and I will release that old man immediately." Chapter 616. An arrow pierced the sky, whistling unceasingly. The illusionary void shook, and a terrifying aura diffused as if it wanted to tear the sky apart. It was really terrifying. Luo Danqing's eyes shrank, glaring at Bufong's position. The flame in his hand surged, trying to force the Shura sovereign back. However, the Shura sovereign's Shura sword was like maggots in his bones. He couldn't get rid of it, forcing the Shura sovereign to back off. That arrow seemed to pierce through the illusionary void, approaching Bufong. Luo Danqing couldn't stop it in time. Rumble. As the arrow came closer, its terrifying aura became stronger and more intimidating. Finally, someone reacted. He turned his head with a frightened face, looking at the direction where the arrow came from. His mind felt like it was being squeezed by a big hand, making it hard for him to breathe. Some people were so suppressed by the pressure of the arrow that they almost fell to the ground. Bufong seemed to have also felt the whistling of the wind. The might of the wind made him slightly startled. Turning his head to look, he saw a light arrow heading straight for his body. What? Bufong was bewildered. A moment later, the light arrow was right in front of him. In his eyes, it enlarged and enlarged. Everybody thought that Bufong would die. He couldn't resist that arrow. After all, many of the people present had been transferred from Heavenly Pill City. They knew very well what this arrow meant. One had to know that the fourth elder had been killed while defending against this arrow, and the prefecture lord had also been seriously injured by it. This arrow was not something that a chef with a weak cultivation level could defend against. This dark horse chef must die. But would he really die? Yu's cold face scanned the light arrow. Then, she casually pushed Bufong's body, making Bufong take a step back. Yu's white, jade-like palm rose, slowly grabbing the light arrow. Boom! A rumbling sound reverberated, and a terrifying wave of air rolled. You caught the arrow. However, the energy fluctuations were so great that even the air seemed to distort and shatter. Nethery furrowed her brows and took a small step back. Her sparkling feet stomped on the ground, causing the bricks on the city wall to collapse at this moment. The fair skin on Yu's hand had also turned red at this moment. Dark black energy was flowing and lingering on it. Nethery let out a muffled groan as she crushed the light arrow in her hand. However, her arm was also trembling. Dark black energy continuously lingered on it, appearing and disappearing for a long time before it slowly disappeared. It really is the Netherworld woman. Ha ha ha. The Netherworld woman of the Netherworld is a cursed creature of the Netherworld. Jiaoya's eyes sparkled when he saw that. He couldn't help but throw his head back and laugh out loud. Nethery swung her arms, her beautiful brows furrowing. It hurts a little bit, said Yu. Bufong furrowed his brows. His cold eyes looked at Jiaoya, who was throwing his head back and laughing. He swung his hand, and a black crystal jar emerged. A drop of purple crystal essence floated out of it. Bufong held the drop of crystal essence in his hand and handed it to Yu. Yu's eyes brightened. She pouted and sucked the drop of crystal essence into her mouth. Her eyes slightly narrowed as she looked delighted. Damn, you young man, you still have a good item like the crystal essence? Why didn't you take it out earlier? If you eat the spicy strip with this crystal essence, it will be really delicious. Hades held a spicy strip in his mouth. His eyes also brightened as he gazed at the black crystal jar in Bufong's hand. Bufong immediately looked at Hades vigilantly. The amount of crystal essence was limited. Once it was used up, there would be no more. Didn't you say that you wanted to take action? Bufong looked at Hades. Hades was a little embarrassed. I haven't finished my spicy strip yet. After I finish, I will take action. I will take action. I will strip that guy naked. I will make him run back naked. Hades sucked the remaining half of the spicy strip into his mouth. He chewed and said seriously. In the sky, Luo Donqing's mind relaxed. He thought that the little chef was dead. He didn't expect that the beautiful woman next to him was so strong. She had blocked the light arrow with just one hand. The Netherworld woman? But in the outside world, wouldn't the Netherworld woman's fighting prowess be weakened? Not bad, not bad. I thought that this arrow could kill you, little chef. I didn't expect that the Netherworld woman would show up. Although she doesn't have 1/10 of her power, she's still the Netherworld woman. She still has some tricks up her sleeve. Jiaoya chuckled. That's right. He didn't use his full power in the previous arrow. It was just a casual shot. No matter what, Bufong was just a divine physique echelon expert who had broken one shackle. The god-slaying Bao's random arrow was enough to blast him into pieces. Jiaoya stuck out his tongue and licked his lips. A meaningful smile appeared on his face. He picked up the god-slaying Bao, sending his true energy into it. Instantly, the energy surged. The ancient, pitch-black, god-slaying Bao slowly changed at this moment. Starlight expanded from it. Bufong was a little surprised. He found that the god-slaying Bao was similar to his dragon bone kitchen knife. Once he sent his true energy into it, it would change. However, the god-slaying Bao was much weaker than the dragon bone kitchen knife. Light surged on the god-slaying Bao, and an arrow slowly condensed. It was a light arrow, which was more intense than the previous one. Light moved on the arrow, and energy surged unceasingly. It seemed like there was an explosion when Jiaoya pulled the bow. Die, the Netherworld woman. His eyes focused. A moment later, Jiaoya's fingers loosened. Instantly, a tearing sound echoed, as if there was a thunderclap. With the sound of thunder, the light arrow shot toward you. That speed was so fast that it caused everyone's hearts to clench. The power of this arrow wasn't weaker than the one that had killed the fourth elder and wounded the palace master yesterday. Everyone looked in Bufong's direction. That little chef, was he going to die? This arrow was truly unstoppable. That outrageously beautiful woman was already having such a hard time blocking the weak arrow from before. This arrow was definitely not something she could block. Everybody held their breaths. The third elder and the others, who were the closest to Bufong, paled. That was because they felt as if the arrow had enveloped them within it. Rumble. The light arrow arrived before the sound had even reached them. Ripples expanded, shivering people's hearts. Yu's face was solemn. This arrow, she couldn't resist it. If they were in the secret realm or the netherworld, she could resist it. However, in the outside world, she didn't even have 1/10 of her power. She couldn't resist it, and she would be killed. However, at this moment, Hades stood in front of them with half a spicy strip in his mouth, facing the light arrow. Everybody was bewildered. How could there be someone else? Where did this fellow come from? Could he resist the light arrow? Didn't he come to die? Some people didn't know Hades. However, when some of them saw the Nether King step forward, they couldn't help but show fear in their eyes. It's him. It's him. It's him. That young man who loved to strip people's clothes. Many people remembered the fear they had when they were controlled by him. That clothes-stripping finger had touched the glabella, and the clothes had exploded. That fellow had appeared. Everyone's faces were filled with fear when they recalled the scene of them running around naked. Damn it! Shoot that clothes-stripping demon. Someone couldn't help but scream inwardly. That handsome face was like a nightmare in their hearts. Every time they thought about it, they were scared. The nightmare of stripping people's clothes was so terrifying. Block it? How could the god-slaying bow's arrow be blocked that easily? Jiaoya looked at Hades, who was about to stop the god-slaying bow with a spicy strip in his mouth. The corners of his mouth curved into a cold smile. However, a moment later, everybody's eyes froze. In their eyes, that clown with a spicy strip in his mouth had casually raised his hand. Then, the light arrow whistled and appeared in front of that man. The Nether King casually patted it, and like a fart, it shattered with a puff. Just like a fart. Shattered? What the heck? What happened after all? The group of people were dumbfounded. Was that arrow a joke? It was so powerful, and they were prepared to be shocked. But it turned out to be this? Jiaoyu was also bewildered. He rolled his eyes, his face skeptical. It couldn't be. The arrow he had just shot was really powerful. How could it be smashed like a fart? Impossible. Jiaoyu frowned. He pulled the bowstring one more time. Light condensed. A moment later, the sound of thunder reverberated. An arrow shot fast toward Hades. Hades held the spicy strip in his mouth. He rubbed his black hair and snorted. Then, he raised his hand and patted. Puff! Just like a fart, the light arrow shattered again. The corners of Hades' mouth curled up. His eyes looked at Jiaoya's direction. He raised one finger, wiggling it left and right. Since he had a spicy strip in his mouth, his words were a little unclear. Young men these days can't do it. Can't do it? You King can't do it. My arrow is absolutely firm. Jiaoyu was enraged when he heard him. Was that man mocking him? How dare he mock him? He was the expert of the heavenly spring holy land of the hidden dragon royal court. How could this Xiao Bai's face understand his firmness? Snorting angrily, Jiaoyu glared at the Nether King. A moment later, his aura skyrocketed. A two-step soul ladder emerged above his head. Light moved on the soul ladder, and mysterious symbols sparkled on it. This man was also an expert at the divine soul realm. Everybody was frightened. A moment later, they looked at the longbow in Jiaoya's hand in fright. The light arrow congregated on the god-slaying bow one more time. However, this time, the light arrow was much bigger. The furious energy on it made people shiver in fear. Luo, Danxing, and Ashura's sovereign hovered in the sky, looking at the arrow in fright. This arrow gave them a sense of danger. If it hit them, even if they were strong, they would die. This arrow was really terrifying. However, Hades was still holding the spicy strip in his mouth, waving his hand at the thick arrow. Young men these days can't do it. Chapter 617. Jiaoyu pulled his bow and shot the arrow. His eyes were resolute as he gazed at the handsome man who was holding a spicy strip in his mouth and wagging his finger at him. His murderous aura rose. As a disciple of the heavenly spring holy land of the hidden dragon royal court, with a god-slaying bow in his hand, he wasn't afraid of anything. However, that man dared to mock him. Youngsters nowadays, even if they're thick, they can't do it. Can't do it, your sister. Father's cloud-piercing arrow can vanish, even if there are thousands of soldiers and horses. Jiaoyu snorted angrily. Instantly, the power in his hand relaxed. The thick light arrow, which had gathered a lot of powerful energy, shot out, bringing with it thunderous roars and ear-piercing power that could shake people's minds. The void seemed to distort and rumble at this moment. The thick light arrow spun, stirring the air, making it blurry and distorted. This arrow was much more intimidating than the previous one, and its energy was much more savage. It was extremely terrifying and incomparably ferocious. Even the Pill Palace's master, Luo Danxing, who was hovering in the sky, didn't think that he could resist this arrow. It was really terrifying. The Shura sovereign held the Shurasek sword, his face solemn. The formidable power of that arrow had given him goosebumps. Worthy of being an expert of the hidden dragon royal court. The people of the Pill Palace were desperate. How could the power of that arrow become stronger? Would that person be able to withstand it? The speed became faster, and the energy became thicker. Just sensing the fluctuations within it was enough to make one's heart tremble. Hades held half a spicy strip in his mouth. He reached out his hand and sucked on the spicy strip, feeling so happy. He squinted at the thick arrow shooting over, the corners of his mouth twitching. I told you, it's useless to be thick. It's flashy but not solid enough. As soon as he finished speaking, the Nether King raised his fist and took a small step back. His fist smashed out and directly collided with the thick light arrow that was shooting towards him. The intense explosion that he had imagined did not appear. That incomparably frightening arrow was still the same as before. With a soft puff sound, it crumbled apart like a fart that had been scattered. The thick light arrow turned into a rain of light that filled the sky and dissipated. Everyone was dumbfounded. Looking at Hades's lifeless face, this guy? Where did this pervert come from? Not only did he enjoy stripping people's clothes, he was also so powerful. Shattering the light arrow was like shattering a fart. Up in the sky, Luo Danqing let out a long roar. Without any worries, he could finally let loose. Due to the experience of being ambushed in the previous battle with the Shura sovereign, he had been on guard against the experts of the hidden dragon royal court. However, now that the powerhouse was entangled, he could finally have a good fight with the Shura sovereign. Boom, boom, boom. Above the sky, fiery light glistened and sword energy crisscrossed. The battle between the two clashed again, and the sound of explosions rang out incessantly. Hades swung his fist, rolled his tongue, and swallowed the spicy strip. He exhaled, then waved his hand at Jiaoya. Stop fooling around. Go back. You can't do it. Jiaoya was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. This guy, why did he keep saying that he couldn't do it? He was enraged. However, compared to his anger and gloominess, the heavenly mist city's alchemists on the city wall were elated. They were so excited. All of them looked at Hades with enthusiasm. Although this guy was a clothes-stripping maniac, they couldn't deny that he was really strong. The third elder was so excited that his face was flushed. Worthy of being the Lord. He's invincible. Hades turned to Bufong, his face gloating. Young man, I didn't lie to you, did I? For the spicy strip, I must crush everything. Bufong was speechless to Hades's smug face. However, he couldn't deny that Hades was really strong. The battle in the sky gradually reached its climax. Rumbling sounds rang out incessantly. All of a sudden, a long whistle echoed. The light in the sky parted, and two silhouettes landed. Luo Danqing's aura fluctuated. His face was pale, as if his old wounds had recovered. He couldn't resist the Shura sovereign. As for the Shura sovereign, he landed back on the war chariot, his chest heaving up and down. His eyes were surging, and his face was filled with excitement. Fight! Shura army! Attack the city! Flatten the heavenly mist city! The Shura sovereign raised the Shura sword in his hand, roaring. His roar shot up to the 9 heavens, his aura ferocious. As soon as the Shura sovereign gave his order, the Shura army roared excitedly. Their auras burst out. True energy shackles swayed behind those experts, surging and intimidating. On the heavenly mist city wall, the experts changed their faces. Open the heavenly mist city's defensive formation. Luo Danqing's face was stern as he ordered. After the alchemists received his order, they dashed to a corner of the city, trying their best to open the defensive formation. Boom! Rumble! The experts stormed toward the heavenly mist city. A jet of light sparkled. The heavenly mist city's defensive formation was activated, trying to resist the first wave of the Shura army's ferocious aura. According to Luo Danqing's calculations, the heavenly mist city's defensive formation could withstand the first wave of the Shura army's attack. After the first wave of attack, the Shura army's aura would be weakened. When their aura was weakened, it was time for them to strike. Jiaoya stood in the crowd, his face dark and gloomy. One expert after another whizzed past him, but his eyes were still fixed on the city wall, staring at Bu Fong and the others. All of a sudden, he smiled. The corners of his mouth curled up, and light shot out from his eyes. In a corner of the heavenly mist city, a revolving formation was moving unceasingly. An expert wearing an alchemist's robe descended, landing in front of the formation. His face was solemn. He rose his hand, making a hand seal, pushing the energy seal into the formation. The formation rumbled, spinning unceasingly, radiating dazzling radiance. At this moment, the heavenly mist city's formation suddenly expanded. All of a sudden, not far from the formation, the guards there roared angrily. It seemed like they were shouting and shouting. A moment later, the alchemist gawked, looking in that direction. A shadow slowly approached from a far distance, holding a fiery red kitchen knife in his hand. His body was handsome, and the corners of his mouth hung an evil smile. I didn't think that the hidden dragon royal court would follow the Shura army to attack the city. Interesting. Zhou Tong squinted, smiling. He looked at the alchemist, his murderous aura gathering. My kitchen knife can't kill people, but I can still kill you. Boom. Terrifying energy shot out. A moment later, the alchemist's eyes widened. As the Shura army approached, the people on the city wall had a stern look on their faces. The defensive formation revolved more fiercely, releasing more energy to stop the Shura army's attack. All of a sudden, Luo Danqing's face changed. This was because he discovered that the light of the Guardian formation was flickering faintly before it finally collapsed. The Shura army approached the city wall as if there was no one there. Although the heavenly mist city wall was firm, how could it resist the bombardment of so many ancient Shura cities experts? It was directly smashed. This change was beyond everybody's estimation. What happened? Why did the defensive formation collapse all of a sudden? Fight! Fight! Luo Danqing roared. He didn't have a way out. The city wall was full of cracks from the bombardment. The alchemist's eyes turned red. With a resolute air, they stormed forward. The two sides collided, and energy burst out. The energy swirled unceasingly, rolling up the strong wind that whistled unceasingly, fluttering Bu Fong's hair. He stood on the city wall, watching the battle between the two armies. His brows slightly furrowed. All of a sudden, a cold, murderous aura locked on him. Not only him, but Hades also lifted his head, looking suspiciously into the distance. There, Jiaoya pulled his bow one more time. However, it was different this time. This time, the god-slaying bow had an ancient, black, and cold arrow. It was a real arrow, not an energy arrow. I wanted to save this arrow for that netherworld creature, but you successfully provoked my anger. So, die. The god-slaying arrow shot from the god-slaying bow, killing a god with one arrow. It was an arrow specially prepared for the netherworld creature. The hidden dragon royal court had developed this mist to capture and kill the netherworld creatures in the netherworld continent. Boom! The arrow was shot. However, it was beyond everybody's expectation. This arrow was really slow. Compared to the light arrow from before, the speed of this black arrow was much slower. It was so slow that everybody thought they could dodge it by just turning their body. Hades squinted his eyes. Youngsters these days, being slow won't do. Slow? The corners of Jiaoya's mouth twitched. A moment later, his eyes widened. There was a tearing sound. The arrow disappeared. The next time it reappeared, it got out of the void, just 1 inch away from Hades's glabella. Hades frowned. A flow of black energy flowed out from his body, bursting around him. The terrifying energy surged. Hades couldn't help but raise his hand, grabbing the arrow. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. Pitch black smoke rose into the air. The arrow was shaking hard in Hades's hand. It was like a red-hot iron. Swoosh! The Nether King's body slightly tilted to the side. His hand involuntarily loosened, and the arrow shot out at lightning speed, Hades' face changed. You, who was standing next to Bufong, also paled. As soon as Hades loosened his hand, the arrow dashed toward Bufong. The moment the arrow left his hand, Hades had a bad premonition. He felt that his future was bleak. It's over. His spicy strips are gone. You rose her jade-like arm, trying to copy the way she had blocked the previous arrow. She wanted to stop this one. However, Bufong stopped her. Hades had accidentally let go of the arrow. How could Bufong let you stop it? Pressing Yu's hand, Bufong's hand had green smoke twirling around it. The black turtle constellation Walk rose against the wind, turning into a protective shield in front of him. The arrow flew fast, hitting the black turtle constellation Walk. The ancient and heavy black turtle constellation Walk was really hard. This attack only caused Bufong's figure to stagger a few steps back. In the end, the arrow landed on the ground with a crisp, ringing sound. Xiaoyu was bewildered. He couldn't believe it. His arrow was blocked. The black turtle constellation Walk fell. Bufong's face was emotionless. He exhaled. A moment later, a bowl of steaming hot ramen appeared in his hand. He waved the noodle in the sky, and in the next moment, a ripple that enveloped half of the city spread out and covered everyone's bodies. Gourmet Array, activate. Chapter 618. Gourmet Magic Array, activate. When Bufong said those words, his voice was very soft and not very loud. A bowl of steaming hot rampage ramen soared into the sky and disappeared. In the next instant, a terrifying energy wave spread out, instantly covering half of Heavenly Mist City. Everyone was stunned because they realized that the tip of their noses had suddenly surged with the aroma of a dish. This aroma made them dumbfounded, and they were addicted to it as they sniffed it. In Heavenly Mist City, Zhou Tong, who had just broken the city defense magic array, was playing with a fiery red kitchen knife in his hand. His eyes were smiling as he looked at the direction of the city gate, which was filled with spirit energy. He knew that at this moment, there would be chaos. However, soon his expression changed, because he realized that dense spirit energy had actually emerged around his body. That spirit energy, along with the aroma of the dish, made him involuntarily intoxicated. This aroma smelled really good. After Zhou Tong held the kitchen knife tightly, he couldn't help but furrow his brows, sniffing the aroma of the dish. The dense energy around his body became thicker and thicker, making him involuntarily want to take a deep breath. However, soon he was frightened, and his eyes widened. Aroma of food? Why would there be aroma of food? Heavenly Mist City is a pill city. Why would there be aroma of food? Zhou Tong's face was filled with disbelief. He stood at his original spot, looking around, only to find that he seemed to have fallen into a mysterious magic array. That dense energy was the operation of a magic array, and it made him feel a strange wave of energy. In the east, west, south, north, and south of Heavenly Mist City, there's a dish with abundant spirit energy. The spirit energy that these dishes emit is specially processed, and it will gather together, condensing into a dish's aroma, forming a unique wave. This method, who the hell did this? As a first-grade chef of the Valley of Gluttony, Zhou Tong could see through the mysteries of this magic array with just a glance, and his expression couldn't help but change. This magic array was actually made of gourmet food. Currently, the Valley of Gluttony was researching how to use gourmet food to build magic arrays. However, in Heavenly Mist City, he found this kind of gourmet magic array. What was going on? In Heavenly Mist City, could it be a little chef from a restaurant? Impossible. How could that little chef set up such a gourmet magic array? Setting up a formation was not that simple. It required the formation I and the spiritual energy in the formation I to resonate. That was the only way to make the formation work. The Valley of Gluttony was still studying it, but they could already set it up here. Thinking of this, Zhou Tong's expression froze as he rushed out of the city with a grave expression. because that was where the spiritual energy of the gourmet array converged. Bufong stood on top of the city wall. He held the black turtle constellation wok in one hand and slowly reached out to pick up the black iron arrow that had fallen to the ground. His expression was as calm as an ancient well. The power of this arrow was very strong. Even though Bufong used the black turtle constellation wok to block it, he was still forced to retreat a few steps. Hades looked embarrassed. If he hadn't let go, he wouldn't have shot the arrow. Previously, he was also stimulated by the fluctuations of this arrow. The burning sensation made his balls ache. If it wasn't for the burning sensation, he wouldn't have let go. Thinking about this, Hades was a little angry. He was tricked. That arrow could resonate with the nether energy in his body, which affected his nether energy. That was why he was tricked. From a distance, Jiaoya coldly glared at Hades. Turns out this fellow is also a netherworld creature. No wonder he's so strong. If so, I will shoot them all. Jiaoya's mouth twitched, revealing a smile. With a god-slaying bow and god-slaying arrow, Jiaoya was so confident. It was because the divine weapons of the hidden dragon royal court were used to subdue the netherworld creatures. Although their powers were ordinary compared to the other divine weapons, they had a special suppressive effect on the netherworld creatures. Young man, this is this king's fault. This king is a little emotional. Allow this king to settle this fellow. The nether king snorted out a breath of white air from his nostrils and said coldly. However, out of his expectation, Bufong just waved his hand. No need. Let me do it. Bufong said casually. Hades was bewildered. The experts on the city wall were also bewildered. Nangong Wuk looked at Bufong with a frightened face. Old Bu, don't act recklessly. Those people are too strong. Sorceress and Sheng and the others also looked at Bufong as if they were looking at monster. Did this little chef want to fight against those people? With his power of breaking through one of the supreme being's shackles? Bufong looked at the others. The corners of his mouth twitched, and his stiff face revealed a mysterious smile. He didn't say anything to the others. Holding the black turtle constellation wok, he walked out of the city wall step by step. While he was inhaling and exhaling, the thick spirit energy from the heavenly mist city gathered around his body, making him look like a banished immortal. His striped red and white vermilion robe fluttered, his sleeves fluttering. Everyone looked at Bufong in surprise. Did Bufong really want to fight against the experts of the hidden dragon royal court with the power of breaking through one of the supreme being's shackles? His opponent was an expert of the divine soul realm. Spirit energy gathered like a dragon. In the sky, there seemed to be illusions of dishes appearing. Bufong stood among them, and the vermilion robe on his body emitted a dazzling radiance, making him look like a god. Green smoke curled up, and a kitchen knife appeared. The pitch-black dragon bone kitchen knife in his hand gradually became resplendent. Energy gathered in it, turning it into a huge kitchen knife. He carried it on his shoulder. He gently exhaled. With the dragon bone kitchen knife in his left hand and the black turtle constellation wok in his right, Bufong wore the vermilion robe. He was like a dazzling star in the night sky. Everyone was dumbfounded. No one seemed to recognize Bufong. It was the first time they saw Bufong in such a domineering state. It was incomparably dazzling, shocking people's eyes. Hades exclaimed, "This young man is really domineering." Nangong Wuk said, "I'm sure I saw a fake old Bu." You widened her eyes, looking at Bufong. Her red lips parted slightly, and her beautiful face was filled with astonishment. Bufong's face was calm. His aura rose continuously under the support of the gourmet array. His aura surged, and his power was majestic. Below the city, the members of the Shura army were shocked by this sudden scene. The Shura sovereign's devilish face couldn't help but furrow his brows. No wonder this little chef dared to kill the experts of the ancient Shura city. It turned out that he had some confidence. Was this the source of his confidence? Indeed, extraordinary. Did he rely on this array? However, this array didn't seem to be the same as the ones he had seen in the past. That fluctuation didn't seem to depend on crystals. Jiaoyu grinned. This ant-like thing dared to fight him. No matter how imposing he was, his god-slaying bow could pierce him with just one arrow. There was nothing that one arrow couldn't solve. If there was, he would use a thicker arrow. Looking at Bufang's domineering appearance, Jiaoyu directly pulled the bowstring and shot an arrow. The light arrow congregated, and terrifying energy gathered unceasingly. An arrow was shot. Along with the whistling sound, it dashed toward Bufang in the sky. Bufang indifferently looked at the arrow shooting at him, his face emotionless. The gourmet array revolved, filling his body with spirit energy. At this moment, he felt so full of energy that he could move mountains and rivers with one strike. Facing that light arrow, Bufang didn't dodge. He held the black turtle constellation walk in one hand, wielding it. The black turtle constellation walk whistled, spinning as it moved. With a puff, the light arrow was shattered into pieces. It was like a fart. Everybody was bewildered. A moment later, they burst into an uproar. He had smashed it. That little chef had done it. So terrifying. He had smashed the light arrow that had wounded the Pill Palace's master with a single walk. Worthy of being the Dark Horse chef. Everybody was so excited. Luo, Danxing, and the others were also bewildered. They didn't expect that Bufang could show such formidable competence. He squinted, sensing the energy in the air. He couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. He knew that Bufang had borrowed the energy of the array, but no doubt the walk in Bufang's hand wasn't an ordinary item. No matter what, Bufang's attack had given everybody in the Heavenly Mist City a shot of adrenaline. Because the defensive array was broken, the experts of the Heavenly Mist City didn't have enough energy. However, at this moment, everybody's aura shot up to the sky. Jiaoya's eyes shrank. That black walk was a little magical. Taking a deep breath, Jiaoya pulled the bow one more time. This time, 3 light arrows appeared on the bow. The light arrows twinkled, twisting the void. With a whistling sound, 3 light arrows shot toward Bufang, their long tails swinging behind them. The 3 light arrows formed a triangular formation, whistling and zooming. Bufang's thought flickered. The Shura Tower in front of his chest glowed faintly. His immense mental force gushed out, guiding the black turtle constellation walk to move horizontally. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. A muffled sound echoed. The 3 light arrows were smashed one more time. However, the black turtle constellation walk was bounced away, shrinking in the air. Eventually, Bufang held it in his hand. Everybody was silent for a while. Then, they burst into an uproar. The Hidden Dragon Royal Court's experts had attacked twice, but Bufang had stopped them. That Dark Horse chef didn't disappoint them. Hades grinned, pointing at Jiaoya with a mocking face. Youngsters nowadays aren't tough enough. Jiaoya's eyes had a gleam of seriousness. How could an ant at the divine physique echelon realm, who had just broken one of the Supreme Being's shackles, smash his light arrows? Impossible. Bufang held the black turtle constellation walk with one hand. His other hand held the black turtle constellation walk, slowly putting down the dragon bone kitchen knife on his shoulder. He pointed the knife at Jiaoya, his face indifferent. "It's my turn. Take this." Bufang's faint voice lingered in the air. Everybody was bewildered. Then, they burst into an uproar. So domineering. The way Bufang pointed the knife at them had shaken everybody's heart. Being at the divine physique echelon realm, it wasn't an exaggeration at all. Worthy of being the Dark Horse chef. Don't be afraid. Just fight. Chapter 619. It's your turn now. Jiaoyu was bewildered. He stared at Bufang, who was hovering arrogantly in the sky, his entire body enshrouded in mist. Jiaoyu couldn't help but sneer. The reason why Bufang could resist his attack was because of the ancient, pitch-black black turtle constellation walk. If Jiaoyu wasn't mistaken, that black walk wasn't an ordinary walk. It was full of divine charm. As it could stop the arrows shot by the god-slaying bow, it was enough to prove how terrifying this black walk was. With Bufang's cultivation base, This black wok could smash his arrows. It was hard for Jiaoya not to notice that black wok. However, that wok was obviously a defensive tool. It wasn't an offensive tool. Bu Fong couldn't use that wok to counterattack. Bu Fong stood arrogantly in the sky, looking at Jiaoya indifferently. He held the dragon bone kitchen knife in one hand, which bloomed with extreme light. The roar of a dragon resounded. Jiaoya exhaled. He looked at Bu Fong, waiting for Bu Fong to take action. He wanted to see what this little chef had to attack him. Did he think that he could defeat him with just a formation? Everyone looked at Bu Fong solemnly. Was the Dark Horse chef going to make a move? With his competence, could he pose a threat to Jiaoya? Everybody was a little skeptical. However, many of them were looking forward to seeing this Dark Horse chef continue to be a dark horse. Holding the black turtle constellation wok in one hand, Bu Fong's eyes gradually became serious. A moment later, his face changed. He became a bit more dignified. He held the dragon bone kitchen knife with one hand, urging the true energy in his body. Dense energy swirled in the sky, congregating on the knife. Then, Bu Fong wielded the knife, striking down on Jiaoya below. The might surged, and that terrifying bombardment caused the air to tremble. Overlord Blade. Bu Fong's body suddenly surged with an aura that was as domineering as that of a king. It was as if a peerless expert had calmly opened his eyes. Everyone's heart shuddered. They were all affected by this imposing aura. With the help of the gourmet array, the power of Bu Fong's knife skill was enhanced. Bu Fong also felt as if the doubts in his heart had been shattered, as if he had suddenly understood something. A streak of saber qi slashed down from the sky. Everyone stared at the blade energy with strange expressions on their faces. Was this knife energy the reason why this Dark Horse chef dared to attack Jiaoya? The saber energy was very strong, but in everyone's eyes, it was only at the divine body realm. In fact, it wasn't even at the peak of the divine body realm. Most of the people present could shatter this blade aura. No one had ever thought that the big move that Ownerbu had been preparing for a long time would be this weak move to Jiaoya. This was a slap to the face by strength. However, many people were relieved. After all, Ownerbu's strength was only at the level of one supreme being realm. However, the fact that he was able to erupt with a combat strength that far exceeded that of a supreme being realm shackle was already beyond everyone's expectations. No matter what, his strength was there. What else could they ask for? Jiaoya looked at the blade energy, and his face couldn't help but twitch. He sneered, and his disdainful face became thicker. Indeed, a weak attack. Is this what you got to provoke me? Jiaoya couldn't stop laughing. His laughter reverberated through the entire heavenly mist city, which made people's faces turn ugly. This Jiaoya was too arrogant. Bu Fong was calm as he looked at Jiaoya. His face didn't change because of Jiaoya's mockery. The corners of Jiaoya's mouth rose. He pulled his bow and shot an arrow. Instantly, the arrow whistled, directly aiming at the knife that Bu Fong had slashed down. A loud explosion resounded. The blade energy was smashed directly. So weak, Jiaoya sneered. Everyone was speechless as they looked at the blade aura that dissipated into the void. Their expressions were a little stiff. Indeed, it was smashed easily. Bu Fong's face was still calm, as if he didn't care about the blade energy that had been smashed by the arrow. However, at the moment the blade energy was smashed, he wielded another knife. The golden kitchen knife twinkled. The knife light rolled, and the blade energy slashed down. The second blade energy grumblingly fell. However, the power of Bu Fong's second blade wasn't much stronger than the first. Everybody sighed helplessly. Indeed, even the Dark Horse chef couldn't create a miracle. The gap between their strengths was too big. Is it useful? It's just a waste of effort. Jiaoya sneered. He pulled his bow one more time. The light arrow was knocked on the longbow, gathering energy unceasingly. As soon as his fingers loosened, the light arrow was like a wild horse running away from its reins, roaring and roaring. The saber qi and the light arrow collided again, exploding with a loud bang and suddenly dissipating. The situation seemed to have changed. At that time, it was Bufang who had used the Black Turtle constellation walk to smash Jiaoya's light arrow. But now, Jiaoya's light arrow had directly smashed Bufang's blade energy. The change in the situation caused everyone to involuntarily feel a sense of disappointment in their hearts. The smile on Jiaoya's face became wider. It's useless. No matter how many slashes you make, I can smash them one by one. Jiaoya mocked. His eyes fell on Bufang, full of ridicule. However, it was beyond everybody's expectation. Bufang didn't seem to mind. The corners of his mouth even curled up slightly. In the next moment, another saber slashed down with a loud bang. You're really stupid. How could an ant like you imagine the power of the god-slaying bow? No matter how many slashes you make, I will smash all of them. Jiaoya's mouth was cold. Bufang didn't say anything. Another slash. Overlord fourth blade. Swish. This time, when the blade energy slashed, the air rumbled as if it was burning because of the friction. Bufang looked at the blade, the corners of his mouth twitching. Hades and the others squinted, looking at the scene in astonishment. This blade energy is a little strange. Jiaoya didn't mind it. He just drew his bow and shot the light arrow out of habit. The light arrow grumblingly hit the blade energy. He thought that no matter how many times Bufang slashed, he could break it with one arrow. However, this time he was wrong. That saber energy roared and actually obliterated his light arrow. It continued to slash. What? How could it be? How come his blade energy has become stronger? Jiaoya's eyes shrank. He drew his bow again, shooting another arrow. The blade energy was extinguished. Although the blade energy was extinguished, Jiaoya couldn't help but feel shocked. He squinted, gazing at Bufang. This little chef wasn't ordinary indeed. His aura is changing. Shura's sovereign held the Shura Sect sword, gazing at the chef as he said seriously. Shura's sovereign was familiar with aura, so he could clearly feel that Bufang's aura was increasing unceasingly. After each slash, the blade energy and the aura overlapped, increasing the power of the slash. It was a profound method of using aura. Even Shura's sovereign couldn't master it, because he had to make his aura and blade energy resonate. That required a point of resonance. For the fourth slash, Bufang continued to slash. This time, Jiaoya didn't dare to be careless. He pulled the bow with all of his strength. However, his eyes shrank again as his light arrow was broken. His god-slaying bow was deflated again and again by that chef. Unforgivable. 3 arrows were shot in a row, and they finally destroyed the knife energy that Bufang had slashed down. However, Bufang didn't mind Jiaoya's situation. He continued to slash. However, this time, he felt a little strenuous. Overlord 13 blades, 1 blade stacked on top of the other. 13 blades stacked on top of each other, which could slay gods and destroy Buddhas. Thus, it was really strenuous to use the full power of the Overlord 13 blades. Panting, Bufang slashed for the 6th time. The Overlord's 6 blades blade energy rumblingly slashed like lightning. Thunder roared, and the blade energy seemed to come alive. Jiaoya's face became more solemn. He straightened his back, taking 1 step forward and continuously pulling the bow. The arrows shot out in a triangular formation. Boom, boom, boom. The explosion burst forth in the sky. The blade energy expanded, rolling up the entire sky, pounding on Jiaoya's body. Dust and sand rolled up. Jiaoya's body burst out, his face dark and gloomy. Although the blade energy didn't hurt him, it had put him in a difficult situation. Everyone was stunned by the reversal of the situation once again. Everyone widened their eyes in disbelief. Their emotions were fluctuating. As they saw Jiaoya strenuously, they couldn't help but feel surprised. Bufang held the blade with both of his hands, his face solemn. He indifferently glanced at Jiaoya in the distance. This slash, keep going. Come on, Bufang said casually. Then, both of his hands wielded the blade. The blade energy grumblingly slashed. Overlord's 7 blades slash. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.